Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to ESN. As the AWSCO Snapdragon Continental Series postseason continues to ramp up, we head to our second to last race of the season for the cutoff race here in the third round. We are here at Rockingham, North Carolina for the Rockingham Speedway, often known as the Rock, the ever challenging mile oval here in North Carolina for the Verizon 250, which will be just under 250 laps at this mile and a bit speedway. 246 laps. Yeah, 246 laps. To be more precise here, as we'll narrow down our playoff field from 10 to 5 at the end of this race to see which 5 drivers will compete for the championship in Homestead, Miami next week. Lots on the line now. Multiple drivers have their seasons will have their seasons on the line here, and what a place to do it here at Rockingham. A true challenge for all involved in the team. This truly is one of the most all hands on deck kind of races where everyone has to be firing on all cylinders. Obviously, up to the drivers to make things work and to get themselves in the best position to advance onto the next round. But they're going to need the help of their pit crews and their crew chiefs to make everything work, as this is one of the most strategy-heavy racetracks on the AWSCO schedule. I'm Rasha here in the FanDuel fan studio for the pre-race show. I'm joined by Ellie in the studio here. What do you think of this racetrack? It's one of the most. It's a unique, mile, D-shaped mile oval kind of thing with high banking and almost to a sense kind of unique racing lines, I think, compared to most other racetracks on the schedule. This is definitely one of the more unique tracks. I think we compared it earlier. I think earlier in the season we compared Calder Park to Rockingham in a lot of ways. There quite a few similarities, I think, between those two racetracks. But that was quite a while ago, and that was only in the Cup Series. So the Continental drivers have not raced at a track like this just yet, I don't think.
Yeah, this track is a classic in itself. So, as you say, it's a very unique. It's an interesting speedway, especially with how banked it is for a speedway. I think the driving here is always really fun to watch. Lots of classic callback races you can bring up if you want to, just to get an idea of how this track races. And it's exciting to see the drivers be here for the cutoff race. Like, this is the end of round 3 this race, and with this track being that cutoff race, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, especially with our field. I mean, the field, there's a lot of stories to look at there. We'll get into that very soon, and I think it's gonna be an interesting race to watch.
Yeah, of course, this racetrack spent quite a few years in kind of in a state of disrepair in the 2010s, although it did make a brief comeback in the NASCAR circuit in the early 2010s, but took another 12, 13 years, I think, for it to come back on the schedule. In 2025 in the NASCAR circuit. So, bit of a spotty history when it comes to racing recently here, but still lots to talk. There's lots to talk about when it comes to past races here at Rockingham. But it's all about the tires in this track. So many races at Rockingham come down to whether or not you have the tires to compete. If not for the entire race, at the very least in the end of the race, where you kind of get to that crunch time. There's nothing quite like being on fresh tires on the end of a run at Rockingham. That's going to be one of the most, important aspects of the game here at Rockingham, and because of that, it's not necessarily the case that I think a simple undercutting strategy will work at this track, given just how much tire wear we have at this track. More often than not, I feel like it's about kind of managing the balance of managing every tire run so as to minimize the amount of time you spend on those older tires where you're losing seconds at a time uh, compared to your peers on newer tires, which can make all the difference at this racetrack.
Yeah, tires are the main focus of this track, and they kind of always have been. I mean, every single race I've watched at Rockingham, tires have been the main focus point, and tire strategy and pit strategy, and when you're coming in, has been a huge thing to look out for. Especially green cycles, you want to make sure you get good tires, and you want to make sure they last you a while, and you plan those stops. You can have a decent bit of early on in the race where if you mess up, that's not going to end you. It's more so where you recover and how long you make those tires last, and that's where I'm very interested in seeing them kind of work out how they are going to handle their tires and what each team is going to do and when they're going to do it. Undercuts won't necessarily work. We could see them try it. It would be interesting to see if it would work, but it's not going to be the definite strategy to go for here. I think I agree with your point there.
And if you look at the layout of the racetrack itself, you touched upon earlier how unique it is. You've got high banking in both of the corners, but they're different in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 22 degrees banked in 1 and 2, 25 degrees banked in 3 and 4, and we have 8 degrees of banking on the straightaways. It kind of makes the racing fairly high speed, and whenever there's accidents to this track, it does mean it can get a little bit wacky at times. I feel like the most infamous accident that's happened at Rockingham is the one time Derek Cope ended up flipping upside down the backstretch here at Rockingham. That's kind of the apex of what I think is what I like to call prime Rockingham incidents. And that backstretch could kind of trip up some drivers. Actually, the entire track can trip up drivers. This is probably one of the most difficult tracks to master, especially on the exit of corners. The way the banking transitions off of 2 and 4, it can really catch those drivers. It can really catch drivers out, especially on those older tires. And with the lack of experience that some of these drivers have here in the Continental Series, drivers, of course, coming from all sorts of diverse backgrounds here, we'll see how that affects these drivers. Maybe early on we might see something kind of crop up and cause issues here. So we'll see.
Yeah, I honestly expect some kind of incident to happen at some point. I mean, a lot of the drivers in the Continental Series, when the Continental Series is raced on speedways, they've mostly been flatter. This is a banked speedway, and we've I don't know how many the Continental Series has driven that were really banked like this, but it's going to be tricky for the drivers who aren't used to this, and I could easily expect some incidents coming out of that. And, for the playoff drivers, they're going to have to kind of, manage where they are on the track. I think maybe some parts where some of the playoff drivers are qualifying, if they're more towards the back or more towards the front, maybe they just want to avoid the middle. I think you're going to want to avoid the middle in general immediately once the race starts, because that's going to be the trickiest part. Usually is around the start.
Yeah, there's not nearly as much. There's not nearly as much grip on the top part of the surface of the racetrack in the corners as there is on the bottom. It's not a progressive loop bank circuit so I think the inside line will have a great advantage on the starts here. As we look at our starting lineup right now, it is Ashley Johnson and Lori Ramirez on the front row. A pair of non-playoff cars on the sharp end of the field here. And if you're Ramirez, right, they're starting on the outside, kind of that's not really the preferred lane here. We'll see how she manages that, because I expect that 31 car to lose a few positions, at least on the initial outset of the race. Row 2, we have Annie Starchiev on the 66. That's our first playoff car. Starchiev entering this race below the cut line, 23 down, but in a good position, at least at the start of the race, to make things happen. Kathy Ableton Perez is on her outside in 4th place. Row 3, you see our second playoff driver, the 55 of Deborah Williams and the 64 of Mayumi Morihama. Row 4, Jennifer Wilson and Bridget Brasseau. In row 5, Lexi Rockwood and Isabella Smith. Rounding out that's a pair of Fords. Actually, no. Yes, that is a pair of Fords, I think, rounding out the top 10.
Yeah.
Not many playoff drivers there you can see. You see most of our playoff drivers starting a little bit further back.
Yeah, not many playoff drivers in the top 10 at all, only 2. Now, I think that is something to look out for, especially since there are some stories developing about some of these playoff drivers. I mean, Naomi Davenport's in a pretty much need-to-win situation. Mathematically, there is a way where she doesn't have to win, but that's going to be very hard in itself. So you kind of just have to go for the win here for her, and she's qualifying all the way out back.
That's 33rd.
On the inside.
Yeah, on the inside, crucially. Not many cars that are in the playoffs starting on the outside. Most of them on the inside.
Yeah,
but yes, both Davenport and Edelstein are far enough out of the playoffs where I think they're gonna have to win, or at the very least run in the top 5 to make something happen here. Starchev not as much. I feel like a top 10 run would still be enough if some dominoes fall her way. But that's the thing with Rockingham is strategy. The way just with how divergent the strategies can get here, a lot of times qualifying might not be the end all be all of things. This is definitely a very race pace dependent track, and I feel like cars that have it's going to be more important that cars have a strong race pace than strong qualifying pace here.
Yeah, I would agree with your point there. I mean, Freya von Lundqvist has always been a very strong driver. I mean, she is the strong driver of the playoffs right now, and she's starting right behind Naomi Davenport. So I'm not sure qualifying is the end-all be-all either. I think, these qualifying positions could be more early strategic positions in a way. Maybe they want to avoid the middle. Maybe they want to avoid a crash. I feel like Freya von Lundqvist, Naomi Davenport, maybe even Vinnie Schultz, Katrin Edelstein, they could all end up in the top 5, top 10 easily. I mean, it all just depends on what their strategy is and what their pace is and how they manage their tires.
Yeah, looking at our top 2 drivers in the playoffs, that's Von Lundqvist and Cassidy Jones. They've both been very strong they've both been very strong in the playoffs. Von Lundqvist running on a streak of top 20 finishes in every single race in the playoffs. Her worst finish is 19th in the first race of the second round at Oregon. Cassidy Jones a little bit less consistent, but still very strong with 2 top 5s and 2 top 10s in this round alone. Both in pretty decent positions. Von Lundqvist 22, Cassidy Jones 21 up. As long as they can finish the race in a respectable position, they should be they should be set to go to the next round. But otherwise, I think, very changeable point situation between Deborah Williams and Vinnie Schultz. That's 12 up to 17 down on points. I think a lot can change in that specific range of points there.
Yeah, and that's something that we're gonna kind of have fun watching for because we do have that live points tracker now.
Yeah, we have the technology to keep track of these drivers right now. I'll actually give a little bit of an update given how these as they stand. If the results hold for this, say we don't run any laps. We'd have Cassidy Jones and Deborah Williams 27 up as they run, while Lundqvist, Oberman, and Oswell are all 7 points up simultaneously, and then Starchev is 7 points back. But that's easily going to change given the how quickly things change, at the very least on the starts here, and on the restarts are actually at Rockingham. Any final notes to what do you call it? That you want to bring up before we send things to the booth here?
No, I think that about covered it. I think this is going to be a good cutoff race.
Yeah, lots to play for here for a lot of these drivers. Obviously, your 10 playoff drivers, but still quite a few of these drivers as well, trying to get a win, to end the season strong, or maybe try to with silly season coming up as well, maybe trying to get a win as well to stake their claim in for a ride next season. Very changeable situations here in both the AWSCO series, so a lot of these drivers might have something to prove as we take things to the booth now. Coming up to the start of the race, the Verizon 250 here at Rockingham. It'll be Echo and TBC calling the race here for all of us today. Hopefully Yeah, hopefully we have a smooth and hopefully we have a smooth race here. TPC tends to attract the some extraterrestrial activity the last time we were on broadcast with him. So hopefully hopefully this broadcast is significantly less alien presence in our ranks here today.
And welcome to Rockingham Speedway in Rockingham, North Carolina. It's 246 laps tonight for the Verizon 250 for probably one of the most important races we'll run all year. This is the race that determines who will go to Homestead just trying to run for the race trophy, and who goes to Homestead looking for that first ever Continental Series championship. I'm Echo. I'm joined by TPC. How are you doing, and what do you think we can expect from this race tonight?
I'm doing good, pretty good today. It's good to be back in the booth once again after a pretty big hiatus for me, but it's good to be back not only in the booth but also at my home track. This is a very fun track, Rockingham Speedway. Got a lot of twists and turns, 4 of them to be exact, and also a lot of skill at this track too that you need to get around it as quickly as possible, especially out of turn 2 and out of turn 4. Easy to get loose, easy to get involved in wrecks, especially in this game, especially with the corners that they have. And also, just like being wary of being 3 wide or 4 wide going out of the corners, you need to worry about that as well. But I feel like this playoffs race, this cutoff race especially, going into Homestead next week is going to be super, super important for this entire field. And I feel like we're going to see an absolute barn burner today.
Yeah, and sometimes you kind of look at the schedule and you think, man, did they design the schedule to have these 2 races back-to-back at the end of the season? Because these 2 seem like the very perfect 1-2 punch for a season finisher. Let's go through our starting grid here at Rockingham tonight. 38 cars are in the race, 10 of them in the playoffs, and 5 of them will no longer be in the playoffs after this one. Row 1, Ashley Johnson in the 24. She's alongside Lori Ramirez making her final start of the season. Again, Ramirez still recovering from her injury sustained at Pensacola several weeks ago. She's still not cleared to run the intermediate tracks, but this is about the biggest track we'll see her run. Did a pretty good job putting it on the outside pole. Row 2, Ani Starchev in the 66. She enters this race 23 points behind the cutoff. She has to make something happen here in this one to manage to advance to the next round. She's alongside Kathy Ableton Perez in the 25 car. Row 3, Deborah Williams enters this race 12 points ahead of the cutoff. Not a lot of ground, but enough to where Williams is in a somewhat okay position, but she still needs to have a good fit day today. She's alongside Miami Moriyama in the 64. Row 4, the 60, Jennifer Wilson is alongside the 46 of Bridget Brousseau. Row 5, the 78, Lexi Rockwood and Isabella Smith is in the 15. Row 6, the 11, Takamoto Aya alongside the 82 of Zoe Quinton. Row 7, the 8 of Kate Summers is alongside the 4 of Cassidy Jones. Jones comes into this race 21 points up on that cutoff. It is not a terrible situation for Jones. She's pretty clear, but again needs to avoid having a really bad day. Row 8, the 45, Liz Roberts alongside the 84, Tammy Bird. Row 9, the 04, Emily Tremblay-Vaudrey and the 44 of Lulu Kani. Row 10, the 96, Lynn Oswell, just 6 points above the cut line entering this race. Oswell needs to have a good day. She needs to stay ahead of the 2 of Rachel Ramos, who's right on her bumper. She's doing it for here at the start. She's alongside the 10 of Charlie McCarran. Row 11, the 51 of Sandy Martell, alongside the 95, Cara Reynolds. Row 12, the 93, Izzy Overman, just 10 points up. The 4-time winner this year still needs to have a good day today to manage to make it through. Alongside her, the 16, Leah Azelhart. Row 13, the 7 of Faye Zanda, winner of the last 2 polls. Didn't do it this week. Alongside the 35, Krista Andersen. Row 14, the 14 of Katrin Edelstein. Edelstein enters 32 points behind the cut line. She needs either a miracle or just needs to win this race to get through. She's alongside the 54 of Michaela Kirkland. Row 15, the 65, Latanya Gray, alongside the 12 of Jackie Kennedy. Row 16, the 40, Laura Sundale, and the 26 of Robin Morales. And row 17, Naomi Davenport, 35 points behind the cut line, starting 33rd in this race. Davenport needs to make up lots of ground, and she needs to do it quick, and she pretty much needs to win this race to get through. She's alongside the 62, Vinnie Schultz, who enters in a pretty similar position. Although she's only 17 points behind the cutoff line, she still needs to make things happen. Row 18, the 42, Freya von Lundquist, 22 points to the good coming into this one. Von Lundquist is in an okay position. As they start the race, she would still be in. She's alongside the 2 of Rachel Ramos, who's 6 points behind the cut line, and she's racing that 96 for that final spot on points. Row 19, the 6 of Mila Chestina, who finished second in the Cup race last week, and alongside her, last week's winner at Atlanta, Hieta Yoko. So, we've got about a minute until they're gonna do the command. Do you have any keys to this race? Do you think there's anything that these drivers are gonna have to pay attention to? Or is there just anything in general you want to mention before we get started?
Definitely, I want to reiterate what I mentioned before about turn 2 and turn 4 especially being super treacherous, especially on exit. Especially with the bumps coming out of those corners, turns 4 especially is super treacherous. Especially if you're going 3 wide, you really want to worry about exit in there, because if you're 3 wide and the car comes up the track because of those bumps, you're going to run into someone on the top lane, and that's going to really bottleneck up everyone behind you or even cause a wreck. And you don't want to be the playoff driver who's involved in that wreck, especially. And obviously on the backstretch as well, with the walls being as they are, obviously mentioned before in the pre-race with Derek Cope's wreck, we may or may not see something like that here today. Who knows? We've had a fair share of crazy crashes in this series so far this season, but Rockingham is no exception to those kind of crazy crashes. But we should be getting underway very shortly.
Thinking about the backstretch, I think back to Carl Long's incident here in 2004, when he basically ramped up the wall and started flipping. Pace car's off. We're about to go to the green flag here. Johnson and Ramirez at the front row. We're green, and we're racing at Rockingham.
Even start from both of our front row starters here today. Bit of a push from the 66 behind our pole sitter Johnson, but right now goes up the top lane. Immediately going to try and lose that spot, and it's a dead heat.
Oh, there's cars in the wall in the background. Lulu Connie is around.
Trouble.
It's the 44. I think she's the only one. Never mind, the 42. Run into by the 16, merging back up to the track. Caution is out.
Someone's already on pit road.
I believe that was the 51 of Sandy Martel.
That was a really quick snap back to pit road after that wreck. That must have been something crazy going on in the back straightaway there. We just minced it just after the start, but a lap 1 crash is definitely not what I expected to start this race here today. As they all get themselves back around.
Ani Starchev in the 66. Key to note here, 66 has led a lap, so that is a bonus point.
Yeah, that'll be super important as well. But now they're all coming on the pit road, so I guess now they're realizing that the grip is not what they had anticipated. They're all coming down to at least make some changes, maybe get some tires on to start. And we'll just have to see how that shakes out for the rest of this first phase of this race. But already, with the lap 1 crash, we really need to understand just really what happened on this recent crash here and get a replay of what happened to these drivers to start. Oh, wow. Collision on pit road.
A little bit of contact on pit road between the 66 and the 31. I couldn't tell if the 66 managed to get out of pit road first because of that contact, or the 55 maybe jumped her. Let's go and see what happened to bring out the caution. I saw Lulu Connie involved. She spun down the back straightaway. She was in the wall in turn 2. She was in the wall in turn 2.
In the wall, way up here at the start.
16.
And just gets right in. Yep.
Oh, the 14 of Edelstein involved in that as well. And the 16 just emerges up and into the 42. That was surprisingly not that bad for the 42 and the 62, but... And again, I don't think that was that bad for really anybody.
No, I feel like the worst damage that anyone got out of this was the 44, and I think they're probably done for the day with that kind of
Nah,
thing.
she's still back out
No,
there.
they're not.
She's back out there.
Wow.
I don't think anybody
Bit of a
retired.
surprise.
I don't think anybody retired from that, so...
That's going to be especially problematic, though, with all those cars that have damage so far to start. They're going to be slowing down all the leaders, and with how small this track is, they're going to get caught up to really quickly, and that's going to really either hurt or help the battle for the lead later on in this race.
Well, I mean, the other thing I'd be worried about here some of these cars may not be that badly damaged. I don't think the 42 or 62 are that bad. Looks like the 42 and 62 actually mostly got their damage fixed. The 14 might have as well, actually. No, it might be okay.
So maybe they won't be
okay.
They won't be as off pace as I had anticipated, but it'll still be, in the future, a bit of a problem for the leaders who are trying to battle in this big pack of cars right here.
55 is currently the leader now, so that is also a bonus point that's going to go to Deborah Williams. So the 66 and the 55 have both gotten a lap led, so the top two right now are both drivers who are in the playoffs. The lights are out on the pace car. The 16, as we have a car blowing up, it's the 22, it's Davenport.
Oh, no.
And that's it. That's game for Davenport's championship hopes. She pretty much had to win, and that is, well, that's about the opposite of winning.
Yeah, that's not what you need, especially on lap 5, or lap 4 technically of this race. That is an insane start to several of a couple of our playoff contenders already that have already had some issues so far, and that's not what they needed at all. So, especially with that engine failure, that's horrible morale for the rest of the team, and they got to go into Homestead out of a playoffs contention and out of like ideas for what they want to do for the rest of this year. Just have to run Homestead with the least morale in the world right now, so they just have to wait that out after the end of this race.
And no shot at the Owners' Championship either, coming in 102 points back of that. They're going to be significantly further behind that, so they're just going to be running for trophies at Homestead. But as we're going to go back to green here, Deborah Williams will lead the way. Starchev looks to the outside and promptly goes well wide.
Yeah, way up the track, almost hits the wall. A couple of cars hitting the wall.
A couple
back
cars
there.
in the
31.
fence there, but I don't think they're too bad right now.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too bad at the moment.
Williams got shuffled out of the lead. Jennifer Wilson takes the spot. And as we've passed this first lap of the restart, I want to go down to Russia. You got something down there on pit road?
Yeah, Echo, it is complete pandemonium for the wrong reasons here at North Star. Two of their cars blowing up, including one of their playoff drivers. They're completely double checking all of their data right now. Not of note, of course, their other playoff driver, Rachel Ramos, still running somewhere in the pack. I think in the back somewhere. There she is, I think around the 30th place positions. But there's just absolute chaos right now in the North Star Motorsports camp right now. They're trying to figure out what is going on here.
Yeah, the 51 had an issue before the green flag, and the 22 just blew up on lap number 4. So, two team cars having engine failures in the first 4 laps is, well, probably
Not
about
ideal.
the exact opposite of what you'd want.
Suboptimal, to say the least, really, in this scenario for these drivers.
So Williams and Starchev have a lap led, and this will be key for them. Davenport is out of the race. She's going to finish 38th. So the 22 is for sure done for the day and for sure out of the playoffs. In fact, as of the moment, she's scored 73 points out right now.
Yeah, a pretty bad position for that 22. Just pretty much destroyed any chances of them winning a championship in drivers or owners this season. So
Yeah.
that will unfortunately do it.
Cassidy Jones in the 4 car. She was the one car who started on the outside line of the playoff cars that wasn't at the very back. She's actually moved her way up to 12th position. So still still good for Jones, despite the fact that she didn't really get lucky with her qualifying effort. She was actually the only playoff car that got grouped into Group 2 yesterday when we did qualifying. And of course, Group 2 sets the outside lane.
Way up close towards that wall in the exit too. That's what I mentioned at the start of pre-race. These cars are getting loose towards the end of turn 2, getting way up towards the wall, smacking the wall with the right side of that car. That's going to wear down that door all the way down the end of the race and potentially cause them to ricochet back into another car like we saw with that first yellow. So they got to be careful with how they get the corner exit out of turn 2 here.
Ashley Johnson currently pressuring Takamoto Aya, looking for the second position right now in the 24 car. She's going to finally be able to dive down and make the move. You also got the 15 of Isabella Smith trying to take fourth away from Deborah Williams.
Yeah, way down the bottom lane. Seems to be the optimal line for this track. So far, at least. Nick gets another position away. You got a little bit of battle in the mid-pack right here.
When the race comes down, we'll be able to have a little bit of an update on the live points, but, you know, because it's the start of the race, because we just had a restart, things are still going to be a little bit chaotic at the moment. Katrin Edelstein is starting to move her way up through the field. The 14 has actually climbed up to 29th. She started towards the back, but she still climbed up there. The 42 is up to 31st. The 62 still running back in 34th. The 51 is pretty well off the pace in 37th. This car is running about... How many seconds? This car is running about 3/10 off the... About a second off the leaders' times right now, so... Again, not the race that Sandy Martel would want in the 51, especially after finishing finishing second last week, losing the race in the last lap. Izzy Oberman, currently running 24th in the 93 car. She, again, came in 10 points above the cut line. And Oberman having a pretty okay run right now.
An okay run is all they need right now, especially with all the chaos that started in this first, seconds of this race. You want to at least stay alive at this point. Keep your car in one piece, avoid all the chaos that's happened so far, and at least stay above the cut line and make your way into the final round of this playoff and have a chance for a championship. That's all this 93 needs to do right now.
Yeah. Deborah Williams has dropped back a couple positions here. She's actually dropped back now behind the 45 and behind the 45 of Liz Roberts. You got Ani Starchev up into 4th spot. Ani Starchev. Deborah Williams has dropped to 7th right now. She actually just got past Takamaraya. That would have been 8th, but the 55 got by the 11 there.
Yeah, I will say the pit road of this track is also deceptively hard, especially during green flag. It's not as hard as Dover's, but it's like getting down the speed, especially right when you need to practice getting on the pit road, especially coming out of turn 4. You need to really jam on the brakes to get there in time, and it could be problematic for those who are way in the top lane or trying to get around some cars that get the pit road. It can be problematic.
Cassidy Jones moved up to 11th now in the 4 car. Trying to chase down Lexi Rockwood at the moment in the 78. And there's going to be kind of a point in the tire run where the tires kind of just aren't really that fit for making moves. There's going to be kind of a point in the tire run here early on where you kind of just run things out, where you can't really make a move. You're not going to see that in later runs if we get green flag pit stops, because everybody's going to be on such different tire cycles. But here early on at the start of the race, when everybody's on the same tires, it's not going to be like that. Missy Overman's moved her way up to 21st position now, so she's continuing to move up the field. As it stands right now, it's 9 points between the 93 and the 66.
Yeah, right now, the tire wear, especially something you want to worry about at this track, it's definitely going to throw a lot of team strategies into a lot of different places, especially with that early pit stop. Like, we don't know how many strategies were used in that early pit stop. It may have been all the same, it may have been something different, but these teams all have to worry about tires at around the same time. And with how the cheese grater pavement, at least at this point in this track, or when this track was made, it'll run those tires dry. Like, it is absolutely something that these drivers need to look out for throughout the duration of the race.
Yeah, this pavement isn't even really that old, but the reason that it runs high tire wear, not only have they brought a soft tire, but because the sand content in the pavement that gets produced around this region of North Carolina is so high, it gives it a much more abrasive character, kind of like we see at Darlington as well. The pavement at Darlington isn't really that old, but because Darlington, you know, the way that the sand content gets into asphalt around there is produced is actually what causes the abrasiveness of the track, and not necessarily the age of the pavement.
Experience, because I went to the truck and the Xfinity race in 2024 or 2025 actually, when this track first came back, and I sat in the just outside the exit of turn 4, and all the asphalt or all the rubber from the tire was coming up and getting in your face pretty frequently throughout the track, and all people in the stands were pretty much feeling the same feeling, especially coming out of turn 4 when you had so much grip on those tires, and you were charging out through those corners, getting your speed back, and all the rubber was just flying off at pretty much the same rate from every car.
Now, interesting to note here, Jennifer Wilson currently has the lead, and she's actually had it since we restarted. Isabella Smith has been closing in about a tenth every lap. So the 15 car, Isabella Smith, who just has not had very good luck all year, really, is starting to climb up through the field. Sandy Martel still running in the 51 car, but she's pretty well off the pace at the moment, sitting in 37th position. This car is just, I mean, she's just slow. Not really much to say, but at least the 51 is staying out of the way. She doesn't seem to be that much of a moving chicane right now. Deborah Williams.
They have a bit of a tractor right now, but with some adjustments could be a little bit better.
Yeah, they have engine issues, so you can see kind of down the straightaway that the 51 is being, well, just not very fast down the straightaways, and the cars, behind her will catch up to her.
Oh yeah, absolutely right here.
Under half a second between Wilson and Isabella Smith at the moment. That is Jennifer Wilson driving for Gulf Racing. That team shutting down at the end of the year. Wilson's had some good runs this year, but just didn't really have the kind of runs that she wanted to have where she'd be able to compete for wins. And, well, with that team closing down, I feel like Wilson could be a sneaky pickup for a team that maybe wants to get a driver who has some upside, but hasn't really been able to get that potential out all the way. Ani Starchev sits 5th. Deborah Williams is in 10th. Cassidy Jones is in 13th. Lynn Oswald has moved up to 15th. You've got Izzy Oberman in 21st. Let me see if I can find the rest. Rachel Ramos is 26th. Freya Van Lundqvist is 27th. Katrin Edelstein is back to 33rd. Vinnie Schultz is 34th. And that's where the playoff cars run at the moment. Leah Azelhard and Sandy Martel are currently scored 1 and 2 laps down, respectively.
They're getting a bit of the game here, this 15 car, getting closer and closer to taking over the lead, but right now they both have a pretty solid gap over the rest of the field, who's pretty tight, not tightly packed, I'd say pretty relatively evenly packed around each other. But we'll battle for at least 6th right here.
This is for 6th, yeah. So you got Ableton Perez challenging Mayumi Moriyama, and that's 3-time winner this season at Kathy Ableton Perez, moving up to the Cup Series.
6 becomes a battle for 7th right here. 25 goes way up the track. Here comes a 95 down at the bottom, and now we'll get the advantage going in turn number 1, along with the 54 back also on the inside.
Jennifer Wilson still leading the way. I want to kind of focus a little bit further back in the pack, though, just because we got battles here. We got battles back here. Jones actually moved up to 12th position now in the 4 car. She's gained a spot. As it stands, Oberman is 10 points ahead of Ani Starchev. Starchev actually just gained a position, so it's back to 9 points now between the 66 and the 93 for that final spot.
Yep, and they got to keep this consistency up that they've had so far in this race. Just like the 10 that we were talking about earlier, they need to keep going for as long as possible, avoid any chaos. But so far, the field is pretty spread out. I don't see any chaos happening until maybe the first pit cycle, but we'll have to see what happens with that.
This pit road is a bit weird. This pit road is a bit strange, just because the way you exit out sometimes kind of interjects into where you enter the pit road coming down the back straightaway, and that kind of can mess with cars, especially during the pit cycle. So don't be surprised if we see an incident that happens during the pit cycle that means we have to wave around a bunch of cars.
That's true, with that pit exit just coming off of the back straightaway, and then you enter just off the back straightaway getting into turns 3 and 4. You really got to be careful where you exit this track, especially with the cars being in the high lane, but they also cut down a little bit sometimes coming out of turn number 2. Could make some contact coming off of the back straightaway right there, so you got to be careful, especially on exit here. That's where most of the chaos happens, at least in my experience.
We have a challenge for 11th here is Cassidy Jones moving up, trying to battle with Deborah Williams at the moment. Back here, Robin Morales looking at Moriyama for 10th, or for 9th, excuse me. 64 got on the fence a little bit, and that's going to let the 26 take the position. Isabella Smith has still been trying to put some pressure on Jennifer Wilson at the moment, but right now it is not. So far, it hasn't really happened that way. Johnson gets the wall just a little bit, and you're going to see them kind of slip into the wall a little more as this race goes on. It's a calm day wind-wise. There's no wind at all right now. So
shockingly, not a windy day in this section of North Carolina. Very surprising, considering the local area. But that's going to help out these cars. Not a lot of wiggling going around, especially at the exit of the corners. That's going to help them at least keep a bit of their grip, at least on the corner exit. But they still got to worry about other factors as well, such as the aging tires in this section of the race, closer to the first pit window here.
5th place at stake. Here's Kara Reynolds against Michaela Kirkland. And Kirkland, who ran pretty well. She actually came very close to winning at Darlington, only lost at Darlington at the very end because the 25 of Kathy Ableton Perez just charged a monster run on the outside to get by her. Kirkland runs pretty good on these kinds of tracks. I think Kirkland also finished 2nd at the brand new track in Vancouver at Echo Energy International Speedway.
Yeah, these kind of tracks are pretty easy to nail down once you really get the rhythm of them. You just need to be careful, especially on tracks like this where it's a lot faster than other tracks of this size like Richmond and New Hampshire. You really have to worry about the overall speed of this track. You have to worry about the banking, the bumps and the corners. There's a lot of factors that go into a track like this compared to a track like New Hampshire, where most of it is roughly around the same.
Deborah Williams has retaken 11th from Cassidy Jones, so the 55 and the 4 right now currently battling for a spot that's, I mean, kind of meaningless for them. They're both 20 plus points up on the cut line as it stands right now. The 4 car currently recorded as being 29 points up, and the 55 at plus 22.
The 4 had a pretty big run coming out of turn 3 there, getting a pretty solid gap cut down to try and get that position.
Izzy Overman's dropped back to 26th, so the 93 has actually lost a fair bit right now, as Ani Starchev still sits in the 4th position. So that actually makes it a 4-point gap right now between the 93 and the 66. But again,
gets around the 84 with no problem, though.
And that'll also help the 42 gain a position here. Now, Freya Van Lundquist right now sits plus 16, despite her pretty lowly position at the moment. Still in a very good position. She came in 22 points up on the cut line. Here's Hieda Yoko and Mila Chestina, who both started in the last row of the field. They've actually climbed up to 19th and 20th now.
Yeah, pretty solid gains from those cars that started in the back. And you also got to mention the 42 also has that repaired car, so a little bit slightly off pace, but still doing a pretty good job so far, keeping that thing together.
And Rachel Ramos now slipping a little bit in that 2 car. And that's a car who needed to make things happen, and so far it's not happening for Rachel Ramos. And I think that was something I thought we were going to see from the 42 and the 14 and those damaged cars, is I think they were going to have speed. I think they just kind of got stuck in the back a little bit. Especially on a single file restart here, you just are much more reliable to getting stuck. Like, you could make up about five positions or so on a restart, but after that, you really have to work to get past. As we see, Liz Roberts has closed up on the top 2 now. Isabella Smith has still not been able to get past Jennifer Wilson.
Yeah, the battle for the lead is certainly starting to shape up right here, with the 60 just, like, being slower than the 15, I believe, on most parts of this track. That's allowing everyone up to 5th place to catch, now 6th place now, to catch up to within 2 seconds of the leaders. If this continues to keep up while we get to pit stops, this could really throw a lot of factors into how these green flag pit stops will change the outlook of the positions of this race, especially when they all start pitting.
I think we're kind of seeing Jennifer Wilson do some, a little aero blocking, really. I think the 60 is just kind of getting her nose in the way of where the 15 wants to go. It's kind of unsettling the 15. Like, she got to the 60 very quickly, but can't do anything now that she's up there with the 16, or with the 60, as Starchev loses a position to Kirkland.
All these cars now within a pretty solid gap of each other. They're all pretty evenly spaced, right up to the 66, and a little bit further back, a bit further spaced out, but still could get a little bit of draft on the end of the back.
25 got the wall a little bit.
Hits the wall a little bit.
'96 has fallen to 19th. That's Lynn Oswell, by the way. Actually, she's falling a lot. She's kind of stuck in the outside lane right now. I think she may have actually dropped to 21st at the line now. So the 96 is actually starting to drop closer to the cut line right now. And the cut line could go back to being the 96 and the 66.
And you mentioned Darlington earlier too. That's something that happens at Darlington too, being stuck on the outside lane, losing all those positions, the bottom of the track. You really have to be careful about where you position your car, especially if you get stuck on the outside lane. You're gonna be trapped for a long time. You can't get to the bottom lane up there with all those cars evenly spaced out like that. You gotta find a gap and get it. But unfortunately, the 91 lost so many spots from that little encounter right there.
Yeah, if you get stuck up on the outside here, it's kind of hard to get back down. Although it's not as bad as it would be at some other places. Meanwhile, we've had a change to lead. Isabella Smith just took it away from Jennifer Wilson while we were looking away. So the 15 of Isabella Smith now has the lead. But how long is she going to have it? Because Liz Roberts is on her tail right now, challenging for that position. And the 45 may actually go for it right here.
Yeah, Roberts here definitely has a lot more speed in passing this 15. Who's it going to be? The line's going to be close.
45.
Looks like the 45 leads that lap. Very solid there.
So they're catching a lap car of the 51 again here.
We have a new leader once again. But now they're catching up to that lap traffic. Like you said, this could either split this lead pack up or make it a lot more condensed. And all these leaders behind, these are exactly what they need to get up here and try and get some of those lead lap bonus points. Even if they're not in the playoffs, they still could use these points to help their finishing position at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that helps not only for for standing in the owner's points, but in the driver standings as well. Just because the way that the driver standings end up working is, you're still, even if you've been eliminated from the playoffs, you're still ranked as if you weren't ever in the playoffs in the first place. So you just get dropped back to where you were.
Yeah, you could see the 45 there on the last lap, kind of wall riding it out of the exit of 2, as then we see a battle for second that is no longer turned into a battle, but now the battle of the leaders behind is starting to heat up quite a bit. The 66 and the 95 making some moves.
The 95 got past the 66, which then the 66 turned to get past the 60 when the 95 went underneath the 60, and Jennifer Wilson has suddenly dropped all the way to 7th now after leading a good chunk of this race. You got Roberts catching up to Martel, but Roberts unable to make the bottom lane work on the 51. Michaela Kirkland is up to 2nd, and now starting to close in.
Yeah, lap traffic's going to make a big difference here. You saw that 60 fall all the way back now, being stuck on the outside line. That's especially not what you want right here. But that outside line is going to be occupied by that 51, so if anyone else gets stuck on the inside line, the only thing they'll have to deal with is, or the two things they have to deal with now.
Cars on pit road.
We see cars coming to pit road.
Johnson and Moriyama are in. That's a bit earlier than even I was expecting. Deborah Williams has come in as well in the 55 car. So we've got a pit cycle, and we've got a bit of a 62 of Vinny Schultz has come down, and I think Schultz is trying to make up some positions just because that 62 is pretty well off pace right now. She's just trying to get something done here to get ahead. I mean, she's got to do whatever she can, really.
Major adjustments will be necessary for that car to at least get some pace. And now, let's see when the rest of our leaders can come down pit road. Maybe someone in this lead pack. Looks like some are planning to come down now.
I think the 66 of Starchev is coming in.
Yeah, like I said earlier, about that pit entry, you got to really slow down the bottom lane here. Be really careful about where you enter, especially with cars that are trying to pass on the bottom lane as well.
Not only that, but you got to be careful of exiting pit road too, because exiting pit road is a very, very big danger spot here, especially if there's cars, you're exiting in front of. Like we might see it here with the 25, with the 24 of Johnson.
Oh, it's gonna be close. Blocks the car. And now the 0 is going to try and come to pit road, I believe.
The 96 of Lynn Oswell has dropped behind the 93 of Izzy Overman. We got Jones coming in. We have Faye Zanda on pit road. Lexi Rockwood was down. The leaders are still out here, though. Liz Roberts and Michaela Kirkland right now. Lulu Connie's coming to pit road as these two go past. You have the 95 and the 15 fighting for 3rd at the moment. Freya von Lundquist in the playoff car is in.
Yeah, maybe some more adjustments to that 42 to try and get them back on pace after that first little accident they had there. Could be useful here for this second run of green flag, or the second green flag stint coming out after this set of pit stops.
Yeah, and you're going to see there's the 55 on fresh tires, and all these cars that are staying out. There's such a difference. It's such a gap. If you're on fresh tires compared to these cars that are on the old tires, it is such a gap, and this is going to benefit the 55 a lot.
Yeah, seems pitting at the start of the pit cycle really affects your car the most. You have so much of that time to get started and get back up into the field that your tire wear is going to benefit you and get you all those positions back. You're going to have so much speed. And when everyone else pits, you'll have the advantage when everyone else is
You have the
out.
track position advantage, but keep in mind with how long the pit cycles can go here, you don't have that. You don't have the tire advantage, and even 10 laps on tires here is such a big deal. As Michaela Kirkland has taken the lead from Liz Roberts, so the 54 car now scored out front. The 24 came
Fresh
to pit
tires
road.
on the inside.
That's
way
fresh tires, and
up high.
this
They
is
get
going to be
pulled
kind of
down.
what you'll see is fresh tires to the inside, old tires to the outside. That's kind of how you run this pecking order, as we have a caution on the speedway. The 6 of
Oh, the
Justina and the
bias.
16 of Leah Azelhart.
That's a
Azelhart
big
is
damage right
stuck
there.
on the banking.
I'd imagine that was at that pit road entry, maybe that pit road exit that we talked about. It's right out of turn 3, though, so it could be either or.
It very well could be. We have only 8 cars recorded on the lead lap at the moment.
Oh, and more cars damaged, too. Or maybe not.
I think that's just 16.
Maybe our first DNF of the race right there.
Well, several cars are going to be taking the wave around here as we cycle around, but we will have a look as to what brought out. It's the 31, I believe, hadn't taken the caution flag, so blitzes
I
through.
believe so.
But we will check out pit stops here as Michaela Kirkland leads them down pit road, and we will see what happened to bring out the caution. Yeah, 5 cars are scoring on the lead lap right now. I believe all these other cars are going to try to take the wave around to get by. The 66 of Starchev is actually the free pass car, so the 66 will get to jump all of these cars. And we'll go
They're
back.
making their way around.
54, 45, 0, 2, and 95. So between those, so it will also be anybody between those 5. I think some of these cars may have stayed out on the racetrack. They might be coming back down pit road, but again,
Maybe hop off on fuel, maybe some change some strategy a little bit.
well, we'll get to it when we can, as there's multiple cars
Oh,
having
wow, we got
contact on
backwards
pit
on pit
road.
road.
10 car
More
of
damage from
McCarran,
42.
and she was run into by the 42 of Von Lundquist.
That's really unfortunate.
Let's check the 16 of Leah Azelhart and see what happened to her. I mean, she's on old tires, and I think the 6 of Chistina got into her.
So let's
That
see,
might have
was
been
it
exiting pit road.
maybe or entry. Let's see what happens here. Oh, the
I think the
6 was really
6, oh, the
slow.
6, I think,
Oh,
I don't think that had it.
dumped.
6 got dumped, and oh, the 16
Boom.
just has nowhere to go. Lucky nobody else got into them.
Yeah, that could have been bad for the 66 as well. If they had ricocheted up by another car there that was in the mix. So now as the cars get the wave around, they get back on the lead lap after that pit cycle. We now try and look and see on how. So now we saw that at least after the first crash, we should start to see cars come in at least the pit road around 54, 55 laps after that first pit cycle, or after that last pit cycle, so that this next set of green flag pit stops can begin. And if this restart goes well and we have another green flag run towards this next pit cycle, we could see another pretty tame set of stops, pretty tame run. It just depends on how this restart goes. I feel like these restarts are really going to determine whether this race goes clean or not towards the next set of green flag stops. Now these cars are coming around to try and get back.
I don't think any of those cars that got waved around are actually on the lead lap at the moment. But per the rule book, the 2 is in fact the last car, because the 2 was the last car on the wave around. The 2 is the last car on the lead lap at the time of the caution, which means that the 2 is actually going to be the end of where cars get waved around. So that means we're going to have just 6 cars on the lead lap when we get back to green. So a very interesting set of circumstances will be taking place here, as several cars several laps down.
Yeah, now I believe we'll be going back to green at lap 71 at this rate.
24 has retired for puncture. I'm not sure I've seen that one.
That's a rare one.
Ellie, you got something on Ashley Johnson.
Yeah, so I'm with the pit team, and basically what I heard is that Johnson's tire went down because they hit some sort of debris that came off another car, and they're not sure exactly what it was, but it cut the tire, and that's what ended up causing it to go down.
Green flag is back out, and we are racing once again here at Rockingham.
Big push on the outside. Oh, in the wall, too.
Yeah, but it was a bit too big, as they might...
Oh, don't go 3 wide in this corner. Don't go 4. Oh, it's really tight. Oh, wow. I'm surprised they made it out there alive.
I don't know. I thought the 2 was going to go 4 wide there, but the 2 managed to keep behind.
Almost went 3 wide again as the 45 made a great pass on the outside to get past the 2.
Kirkland with the lead. Hieta Yoko in second place. Last week's winner at Atlanta.
Could be going for 2 for 2 today.
And I mean, Yoko out of the playoffs, but still has 3 wins as the 93 and 95 come down pit road. I believe these 2 had restart penalties, and and the 93 is not very happy about it. She gave the 95 a bit of a shove there.
A rather unfortunate restart violation for those drivers right there.
Especially for Izzy Oren, who again, looking like she was in that... She's trying to survive on the cut line right now. That's not going to help her.
Yeah, still caught in this pack of cars right here. This 66 really needs to be careful about what happens in the pack. I mean, the pack has kind of calmed down so far. I mean, once the green flag run thins these cars out a little bit more, I think they'll have a bit more wiggle room to get around these other cars. But they definitely have the speed to get back up here and fight for this battle. But it's going to be difficult for the 66 to get back up through this field and get back up to the front. But they're going to have to put a lot of effort into it to get back up here.
Yeah. So as it stands right now, if you're curious about where our playoff cars are running, Ramos is 4th. Starchev is in 5th. We have, let me see if I can find the rest. Williams is 12th. Edelstein is 14th. Oswell is 15th.
Again. Wow, contact.
Jones is
Right there.
18th. Schultz is 24th. Von Lundquist is 29th at the moment. And Overman is 35th. So, real bad news for the 93 right now. I believe that's
3 laps
actually
down,
going to
too.
put her out at the moment.
That's going to be difficult to recover from, too.
Yeah, and right now, that's actually a 12-point gap between the 42 and the 93 right now on the cut line. Between the 96 and the 66 on the cut line. The 93 is actually 16 points out as it's scored at the moment.
It's way out to the inside of the 4, trying to get in a spot right here. The 35 also could be a factor as they have a little bit of damage on that hood. Could slow some cars down behind them.
Yoko and Roberts currently in chase on Michaela Kirkland at the moment. The 54 leading the race, the 0 and the 45 sitting second and third.
So still trying to get some lead lap points.
Caution, I believe. Oh, never mind. I'm tweaking. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, these cars trying to get up there and lead some laps, get those bonus points. You can see the 65 and 12 both getting a huge run into turn number 3. I'm surprised they made it out there without washing up the track, especially with a late break right there for both of those cars. But they both get around the 62 with no problems whatsoever.
One thing as well, I imagine, is that I think we're going to start to see a lot of those cars did pit, but I think a lot of that is kind of just you kind of trying to take every opportunity to get down pit road when at the early run, and then in the late runs when there's cautions at the end of the race. I feel like that's when you try to stay out, try to take some wave arounds, try to get back towards the front.
Yeah, that's what most of these cars need right now, to at least get back in contention. And they need another yellow, but they don't want to be part of that yellow. They want that to be during pit stops, or not during pit stops. That would be the worst case scenario for these cars to go another lap down. But they need to happen. They need to happen away from them. They need it to not be the cause of this caution. That
Absolutely.
Could or could possibly not happen.
Kirkland, Yoko, Roberts, the top 3. Rachel Ramos has dropped well back. She's back here, but she is still sitting 4th just because we have so few cars on the lead lap right now. And Nani Starchev has also kind of slipped back through the field, but again, still 5th because she's one of the few cars on the lead lap at the moment. Isabella Smith in this 15 car right now actually scored 7th 1 lap down, but still scored 7th. Kennedy is, where is she? She's 23rd. 8th place is the 31 of Lori Ramirez. Kathy Ableton Perez is 9th, actually battling with Robin Morales at the moment. So a bunch of cars on a lot of different cycles right now.
Yeah, all these cars trying to make up as much positions as they can. At least try and be in a good starting position when they get that eventual wave around. But they need to battle through these cars that are not a lap down, that are leaders. They also need to worry about the cars around them that are multiple laps down, have damage. They just need to keep the car in one piece and try and at least stay calm in these scenarios. Try and be in a good spot when the caution comes out, if another caution comes out, and be back on the lead lap as soon as possible.
93 seems pretty far back right now. I mean, again, I know that she's not with anybody, so that's kind of probably not helping, but also just very far back at the moment. 35th right now. As it stands, I'm going to read off the points. Cassidy Jones is 24 up. Williams is 20 up. Ramos is 17 up. Von Lundquist is 14 up. Oswell is 12 up. Starchev is behind by 12. Overman is behind by 16. Schultz is behind by 26, and Edelstein is behind by 31. So we're ignoring the 22 here because she's out of the race. But an actual shift in that top 5 because Rachel Ramos actually jumps the spot of Izzy Oberman, interestingly enough. But again, things very well could change. Deborah Williams has moved up to 12th. Deborah Williams has moved up to 12th. Oswell is up to 14th. We got Edelstein in 15th now. Jones is up to 16th. Let me see if I can find more statistics here. Schultz is 24th. And Von Lundquist has dropped to 31st. So yeah, that's how everything shakes out right now. Actually, Overman did gain a position. She's up to 34th now, based on passing the 51 of Martel.
So now it all comes down to how these cars navigate through the rest of this green flag cycle. Looking like it'll go caution-free for the rest of this run, unless obviously something catastrophic happens to one of these cars. They end up in the wall, they end up stopped on the apron, or whatever caused the yellow flag to come out during this run. But it just all comes down to circumstance for most of these cars, see when they can get back on the way.
And as it stands, it's a 12-point gap between Von Lundquist in 31st and Starchev in 5th. And for the 66, she's pretty well deep. She still has to make her way through a lot of these cars, but she's not in the worst position ever. Cassidy Jones doesn't really need to do much in terms of getting through all these cars. She's pretty solidly in, even at her current position of 16th. Actually, she just gained a position to get to 15th ahead of Edelstein here. So Jones, not really a lot of work to be done. Williams, not a lot of work to be done. Rachel Ramos is in a really good position right now, in 4th, coming in only 6 points behind the line. Ramos has made do very well with the circumstances she's got. Luna Oswald in the 96, meanwhile, sitting 12th, although she's actually gotten kind of stuck on the outside right now. She's starting to fall a few positions where she ended up now.
First time that happened this race. She's trapped on the 13th. Top once again. Trying to find a gap.
Vinny Schultz, 25th right here, fighting with Lexi Rockwood. As the 54 of Kirkland has come down pit road. That's the leader. That is very off-cycle. I'm not sure what's going on there. So, but that's going to hand the lead to Yoko. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was expecting the cycle to be about 60 laps. Meanwhile, here's a challenge for the lead, as here comes Liz Roberts on Hieta Yoko. And the 45 will take it back. You got Latanya Gray closing in as well. Latanya a lap down at the moment. She's trying to gain a lap back. And the curious thing is, where is the 54 going to cycle out? I believe the 54 actually is a lap down at the moment. So Kirkland from the lead pits, and she's now a lap down, well off cycle, but I'm not sure I don't know if that's strategy or not. Ellie, you can tell us more about Kirkland?
Yeah, we don't have the specific information on what caused her tire to go down, but it went down evidently, so not that great for her.
There's a tire down. That's pretty bad. From the lead too. That's rough. That does kind of bump a lot of these cars up by a position somewhat. Kirkland's, where is the 54 drop to? 21st position right now, actually. So, but again, she's going to have 30 lap fresher tires than everybody right now. So,
yeah, all this field is now spread out pretty evenly right now. Not a lot of battles going on. That's exactly not what these lap leaders need. There's only 4 cars on the lead lap right now, and there's a battle between the top 2, but everyone else that's a lap down now really needs a yellow, and they, need to create one themselves, try to create one themselves. It's like what we just about saw right there with these cars going 3 wide. Lexi Rockwood on the top involved in this little scenario right there. That's not something you want to see as another driver in this little group right here.
And Bridget Brissot was kind of the one that forced the issue in the 46 car. She dove it 3 wide there in turn 3 and kind of made it a little interesting there. Here's 2 drivers that are a lap down, trying to get their laps back. Latanya Gray and Isabella Smith in the 65 and the 15. And again, if I'm one of these lap cars, maybe, if we're going to cycle, if this thing cycles through, I may want to try and pit a little early and then hope for that caution coming after the pit cycle. And just, hope that the track position I gain doing that is good enough to gain time and get that yellow that I need.
So all the lap cars right now are really hoping that either a lead lap car or someone that's way behind has a mechanical failure, not one of them, so that they can at least avoid
battle for
any
third.
problem. Oh yeah, right here. We got 32 to 66.
Starchev,
10 seconds back.
Starchev about to take third away from Rachel Ramos. So that is a change in position. Starchev up to third. Katrin Edelstein here in 17th. This car looks like it might have gotten the wall a little bit. There's the 6 of Mila Chestina, who also looks fairly slow. This car may actually have damage from that incident coming to the green flag pit cycle, I believe it was. Yeah, there's no rear end on the 6, although to be fair, no rear end could mean a lot of damage or no damage. It doesn't really, it's an unknown.
Slightly suboptimal.
I mean, I've seen cars win races with no rear end.
Oh yeah, the battles between the one-lap cars are definitely starting to heat up right here. You've got that 95 making some moves on the 40. Oh yeah, this big pack right here.
This is a mess over here.
82. May try to make a move on the inside here.
Yeah, the rest of the playoff cars, Williams is in 9th now. Oswell is 11th. Jones is 15th. Let me see. Edelstein is 19th. Schultz is 29th, and Van Lundquist is 32nd. Again, as it stands, it's a 9-point gap between the 42 and the 66 on the cut line. 2 is in right now.
I think this is what the 2 needs right now, so for the whole rest of this race to go green, for them to stay at least in 4th place, but they also got to be careful with the leader coming up on them, being 13 seconds back.
Yeah.
They are a lot slower than the leader are in general, or than the leader is in general, and they need to be careful about going a lap down because they can easily start losing positions in the cars. They're also 1 lap down. Yeah.
I mean, again, I think a lot of this will also depend on how the cycles fall too. So. So Deborah Williams right now in the 55 car, 55 car running in the 9th position. Although, again, here's Michaela Kirkland just absolutely blitzing through all these cars in the 54 right now. Again, keep in mind that this 54, on new tires, after that tire went down on the 54 car, she's managed to, she's managed to move back up into 9th.
Yeah, now moving up in 9th, at least staying in the top 10 as of right now is going to be really helpful for that 54, especially after all the problems on pit road, because that could have been a lot worse. They're now on faster tires. If a yellow comes out, they'll still be in the top 10 if they have a pit cycle again.
Yeah, so, and again as well with that, if there's a yellow now before we get the pit cycle, they'd be in between the top 10 as we have a car blowing up. That's the 35 of Krista Andersen.
Unfortunate.
I'm not 100% certain on where she was running, but it was not particularly great from what I can remember. I mean, I don't even remember her being, doing anything in this race. As we see, LaTanya Gray has actually unlapped herself now from Liz Roberts. So the 65 is currently scored on the lead lap now.
Yeah, that was 65, like you said, back on the lead lap, but still faster overall. Oh, wow, washes up the track right there, right as I say that. But now just needs to hold off the leaders for just a little bit longer and hope for...
We will get a pit cycle probably pretty soon. I think we're going to see the pit cycle start in about 5 to 10 laps, something like that. Because again, the tire window here is about 60 laps. The 6 of Chestina, again, running fairly slow. She's actually being chased down for position right now by the 11 of Takamoto Aya. You've got Kathy Ableton Perez in the 25, who scored an 8th. 9th place, right there is the 31. The 46 is 24th, 2 laps down. The 55 is 10th. It's 13th for Lynn Oswell at the moment. See, what is it? Von Lundquist has actually moved up to 31st. I think Fairview, as we've got cars coming down pit road, the 78 is in, and so is the 14 of Edelstein. They're taking another chance trying to pit early as the 0 is in the fence pretty hard.
Yeah, that's not good for being that second place car. They're probably trying to line up getting on the pit road, but who knows at this rate with this pit cycle starting. With these, like we saw earlier with these cars that pitted at the start, they had the best positions before that yellow came out. And now
I think they're betting that there is. They may be betting on either not another yellow or just trying to get that advantage and get that track position advantage to maybe jump the leaders if another yellow does come out.
Let's see who comes in on this next lap right here.
There's the 4 of Cassidy Jones. And again, it's going to be kind of a slow trickle of cars until about, I'd say about midway through the cycle. Roberts still looking on Latanya Gray right now. 64 is in, I see the 84. 42 of Von Lundquist did come down pit road. And Latanya Gray right now is, in fact, scored last car on the lead lap. Michaela Kirkland did drive by the leader of Liz Roberts. So the 54 is back on the lead lap. And in fact, the 54 pretty soon here may actually end up being the only car on the lead lap if this cycles through.
Yeah, they gotta be careful here with all these cars with new tires zooming around them with that higher grip, just trying to stay out of the way until they can come down on pit road, get their cycles in. But let's see, here comes the 8 off of pit road right there.
Approaching halfway in this race, by the way, only about 3 laps away from it. And 246 laps, which makes up 250 miles. And you're going to see that all these cars that have fresh tires are going to absolutely blitz by the leaders, which don't. In fact, Isabella Smith is kind of car on pit road. The 0 of Yetta Yoko, second place car coming down pit road. Trying to get that early advantage. It'll be fairly interesting what a lot of these cars decide to do as well. I see the 2 and the 93 in. And Ramos, who was second, comes out pit road. I think Starchev as well, and the 66 also came down. Again, we're probably not going to be able to keep track of everything through the pit cycle because, well, it's a pit cycle. But we will have probably a decent update after the pit cycle is over. I believe the 45 is coming in this time. She, in fact, is. So Liz Roberts is down. 65 is still out on the track, so is the 15 of Isabella Smith. So right now, the few cars that are still out on the track, the 65, 15, and the 54, those are the lead lap cars still out there right now. As we've got a bunch of cars doing weird things over here.
This could get dicey right here. Oh, maybe not. They're starting to thin out now, at least.
And the 54 is going to be slow, because 54
wow,
is about
a huge run there.
Now, I mean, the 54 was 30 laps to the good on tires. Now the 54 is 30 laps to the bad. So
yeah. So they just need a yellow to come in here so they can get that massive brain play and just like get back up in the top 5.
To be fair, they were kind of forced into it because that tire issue.
Indeed.
65 is in. I think the 15 is in as well. Yes.
But honestly, I feel like it won't be that detrimental to the 54 because they only lost a few spots because how many cars that are a lap down now. And if they pit out of cycle again during this next segment, they won't be as far back as we would have anticipated as they normally would have been.
Yeah.
So many cars that are a lap down. Oh, this could get bad right here.
Yeah, it's fine. 45 did actually merge out ahead.
Whoa.
Actually, the 54 is not the only car on the lead lap right now, actually. I don't know if the 55 and 95 have pitted yet. They may not have. In fact, I believe the 95 is actually pitting right now. But the 55 may actually be... I can't tell if the 55... No, I think the 55 is on... The 55 is also on old tires here, actually, so... She's just trying to run this really long and hope for a yellow, but obviously not going to be able to do it. Now the 55 scored a lap down once again. And the 54 of Michaela Kirkland actually, right now, scored the only car on the lead lap, although that will probably change pretty soon, if I had to guess.
Yeah, all these cars now with their updated tires, with about 2 cycles left in these runs, they really need to run this down and try and get the most out of these tires for these last 2 cycles. I feel that this could definitely go green to the end of this race.
Interestingly, the 55 is still unable to get to pit road. Every time she's tried to go down, she has been blocked.
Could be problematic, but I don't think it'll be that problematic.
54, again, moving aside. Again, you're kind of seeing this right here, but at the moment it's fresh tire cars to the... It's those fresh tire cars to the inside, old tire cars to the outside. You just gotta make way. And Latanya Gray and Isabel Smith have gotten one of their laps back that they are down from the 54 at the moment. We did cycle through this entire green flag cycle. We did cycle through this entire cycle green flag through, so
Yeah,
bad news
definitely
for a fair few cars here, I would think, but
yeah. They're all just really banking on the 54 to come down pit road, 51 back on pit road.
51 I think is also off cycle, to be fair.
Maybe, perhaps. But now
55 is
with the
finally going to be able to make it in here.
They got way too close up on the top lane right there with the 4. And now they make it back to pit road. Now, everyone that's a lap down right now is just waiting for the 54 to come down. So that would potentially put 7 whole cars on the lead lap here. The 54 probably would still only go a lap down, but probably won't be that far back compared to the rest of the field.
I mean, that's going to depend on how everybody gets past this 54, to be fair.
Yeah,
Where is
and
she?
they have
There
to
she
slow
is.
stop, too.
2 actually lost a fair bit of ground.
Yeah.
In fact, the 2's actually dropped behind the 84 of Tammy Berg.
Yeah, definitely one of the slower cars of the cars that are 1 lap down, that 2 car, so... But they are thriving off of this track position right now because they are still up front here and still, like, hanging on to this top 10 position. That's exactly what they need to still have a playoff chance right here.
And, you know, with that, with the playoff battle in mind, what I think we're going to do right now is we're going to take you down to the FanDuel Fan Studio, and we'll have our mid-race report here as we are 135 laps into this race. Michaela Kirkland leading, the only car on the lead lap right now, but I don't think that's going to stay that way for long. Let's take it down to the Fan Studio for the mid-race report. Take it away.
Yep, situation in flux here, definitely. As we're watching the 54 of Michaela Kirkland, just kind of minding her own race right now. She's on a completely different strategy from everyone else as a result of that tire going down. As we're here in the mid-race report in the FanDuel Fan Studio, all sorts of things happening now. Not sure what we're gonna get, but I think we're gonna get some really changeable situation, I think, here.
Yeah, I think a great reset is coming for this race with the way it's kind of unfolded towards this latter half, or actually I should say early half. I basically what I think is I think the rest of the field, especially the playoff field, is gonna kind of reset. I mean, they have fresh tires. The 54 had a weird pit cycle. I think things are gonna look very different as soon as they all unlap themselves and the 54 falls behind.
Yeah. lot, I think, on the line is going to be depending on what happens here with the 54. The 54 kind of being off cycle there changes a lot of things. I mean, right now, looking at it, a grand total of 2 cars on the lead lap. The 66 just unlapped herself. The 0 is going to do so right now. 54, of course, dropped back behind. And the point situation getting even weirder now between Von Lundquist, Ramos, and Oswell. And Starchiev, of course. Starchiev kind of... If Starchiev comes out with the net lead here, it would be tied between Ramos and Oswell as it stands.
Oh, wow.
Wherever Ramos and Oswell are, Ramos is still in 8th. Oswell is in kind of the most precarious situation here because she has the most to lose positions-wise, running 14th right now. Von Lundquist is a few points ahead, multiple laps down, but kind of still here. Actually gained a spot, so hang on. Let me double-check the calculations here. That puts her up to 14 points above. So right now, a lot of things also dependent on whether or not Starchiev is in the winning strategy here. As she is running, she leads sort of all the cars. She leads all the cars that are on the traditional strategy, but the 0 is also right here. So again, we'll see what happens. This is a very changeable situation as it stands. 78. Looks like 78 needed a trip to pit road or something like that. Do we see on the board? I see. Oh, yeah. Oh, careful here. Whoa, a bit of 4 wide there. As the 44 and 14 are slow. 44, I think, has to come in here. Careful now. That's the 44 of Lulu Connie, who's already been involved in an incident already today. On lap 1. Finally coming in here. Might be seeing a few mechanical issues. Mechanical gremlins coming up here.
We've seen some mechanicals already. I mean, we had some mechanical issues take out the 22.
Yeah, of course. 22 and 51. 51 still on track, but severely limping. Kind of just running her own race. But with more cars having issues, that will, result in a net gain of positions for that 51 team. Looking at Oswell still running 14th. Is the 26 on the... Yes, 26th and the 8 are on the same lap as them, too. This might be 2 more positions in that position change. Ramos has gained a spot that provides that little bit of space. 1 point between Ramos and Oswell now.
Oh, that is a tight race between those two.
Yeah. Right now, officially 10 points between them and Starchiev, but Starchiev right now leading the, not leading the race officially, but will when the 54 comes in. With the 0 giving chase and the 45 a few seconds back here.
She's in the right position.
She's in the right position. She's in the right position here. But the point situation is ever changing.
Yeah. We have to see if she can cook with it.
Yeah. I don't think the 2 has any direct rivals around her, but she is struggling a little bit on pace. The 14 really is struggling. We saw her slow before. She's slow again, dropping down to 21st now. Effectively out of running. I'd say this is probably where is the 62 in the middle of all this? 23rd as well. It really is going to come down to, I think, those final 6 cars. Because Oberman effectively has locked herself out here with that green flag, with that extra stop on the restart. Checking back in on our net leaders here. The 0 and the 66 still chasing down. With a 12 sandwiched in the middle right now. 55 of Deborah Williams also dropped somewhere. 21st. Okay, I need to double check that. Actually, with the 55's position right now, okay. With the 55's position right now, running in 21st, that actually puts her on the cut line as well.
Oh wow!
But she did run late, so she's in the best position here. She can only gain positions effectively. She's bottomed out on strategy, up to 20th already. So again, that's pretty quick already. Already gaining some positions here, but that would mean, as it stands, there is Cassidy Jones with a 27 points advantage, then Von Lundquist, Ramos, and Williams, Oswell, all about 4 points apart, 5 points apart from each other. Then a 10-point gap to the 66, who is net leading, but not officially doing so yet, but with the 0 also in tow.
She's got to hold that 0 off and
Yeah,
wait for
has
the
to hold the
54.
0 off. They are getting to the 54. The 54 is about a half a lap now ahead of the 66 and 0. Very changeable situation here.
But this is a tough task for her.
This
She
is a
has
tough
to hold
task,
out-
yeah.
She has to hold off
I think the 66
0.
came in before the 0 too, so I think the 0 has the better tires here.
Yeah, 0's going to have better pace, so this is going to be tough for her.
45 also within the vicinity as well. Not too far back. There she is, negotiating the 60 and the 42. Then you have the Robin Morales and the 26. Lynn Oswell still running 15th. Dropping another position that'll drop her another point behind. Oberman running 31st, kind of out of gained a few spots, as well to the 44 and 78 having problems. And then this kerfuffle here, the 55 trying to blast her way through the rest of the field, trying to make up ground. Right now, Williams would vault Ramos in the standings, back up to third, 13 points to the good. There are so many variables here.
Yeah, this is getting really interesting.
Yeah, this is really interesting right now. Checking on the 54 perhaps here. Wherever... Oh, 54's finally come in. Here we go. Now things are interesting.
Now we have to see if the 66
Okay,
can
Starchy
hold
moving
off the 0.
up to the lead for now. With everyone else effectively will gain the spot here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Ramos will move up to 6th. As well. This puts Starchiev in, which means the cut line would be between Ramos and Oswell right now, both having to change, looking for positions, as well as Yoko again hits the wall. It's the second time we've seen her do that.
And this is kind of just going to give the 66 a break.
Yeah, they'll give her a little break here, just a bit extra breathing room, before kind of just doing her mind and just running her own race here. 4 is doing fine enough where she can run basically wherever she wants on the racetrack. 26 points to the good right now. And the 66's turn. It's the 66's turn to run wide. She didn't get the wall. If she did, she just barely scraped it there. This puts a lot of cars back on the lead lap. 54, yeah, at least 10 cars on the lead lap now.
55 is all the way up to 16th.
Yeah. Schultz now down to 25th place. That's the last car, 1 lap down. Lundqvist on the other end of that, 26th. First car, 2 laps down. Changeable point situation still here. On the strategy front right now, we're seemingly looking at about 50 lap runs or so. The 54 there ran about 59 to 60 laps, so... Right now, looking at the situation here, you can just see the 62 there, actually. There's the 14. The 14's really struggled for pace here. The race goes green. Oh, 04 just hit the wall. If the race goes green, the 14's going to be in an odds. 14 kind of wants this race to be a bit more stop-start, I think. Oh, wait, watch the 55 and the 96. They're switching positions here. 15th, yeah, that's Oswell down to 15th. Williams up to 14th. That'll vault her above Von Lundqvist. Back into 2nd. Von Lundqvist still holds 3rd. Ramos in 6th, still holds 4th. Lynn Oswell 5th on points, is the first car out if Starchiev holds the lead of the race here. So right now, Oswell is tumbling backwards. Edelstein in already.
Edelstein's in.
Not particularly surprised by that. Edelstein has been running fairly badly, pace-wise. Couple more cars. Vinny Schultz as well. That's another early taker. And here's the lead change. We're all waiting for the 0 of Hieda Yoko takes the lead and vaults Lynn Oswell back into the playoffs. as a result.
The 66 wants to do something. She's got
Yeah, Starchief,
everything.
of course, came out of the gates running in that 66 car, winning at Michigan. Does she have another trick up her sleeve here at Rockingham?
She's gonna need a good trick up her sleeve.
Yeah, she's gonna need something here, to make something happen. There's the 14 coming out. We'll see if this lures any more cars in to try to come in. To grab those fresh tires. Here comes the 0. I think the 0's coming in now. Takes the lead and immediately relinquishes it. Giving the lead back to the 66, but the 45 now, who came in the latest of all three of these, is now chasing her down. This is what I mean. This is what I kind of talked about in the pre-ratio, where taking the undercut doesn't necessarily, by coming in first, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll have the advantage. It depends on how long the green flag run is going to be, because the earlier you come in, the worse your car is going to be at the very end of that run. And we're seeing here the 45 coming in kind of a little later, making use of those tires.
Yeah.
But looking now with the situation in flux, what do you think that's gonna mean for our FanDuel fan picks here, Ellie? What do you think?
Yeah, I want to check on the 54 because I think that the overcut might be a strategy to look at, and I want to see
where is the 54?
Where is the 54?
Blew up. Okay, well, I don't think the 54 is on track anymore. That's a non-factor.
Okay, she just blew
Never mind. Never mind on that 54 front. Michaela Kirkland is no longer a factor in this race, apparently.
I was gonna say
That's a new one. That's a new one.
I was just gonna say she had the longest.
That's the first. Yeah, that was kind of the intrigue factor because she was on a completely different strategy. She's no longer on track.
Okay, so who else had the longest run? Let's see.
It would be, I think, the 55 as well. Deborah Williams might be one to watch on that because
really
Deborah
good.
Williams came in very late.
Yeah,
He stayed out a long time there.
She's been looking really good pace-wise. I think. Now I'm not 100 on this because we still have like what, about 2 stops left.
Yeah, we have 2 or so stops left, so that's kind of the thing. Now we're seeing. I think we'll see what these drivers have planned for the end of the race.
Yeah, and I think my thing is here. It looks like the longer you stay out and don't come in, it looks like the better you end up doing for this track. And I think the 55 is doing that so far. And I think I'm gonna go with her. I'm not 100 on it because we have a lot of the race left to go. But I think she's got a good
Caution.
shot.
Oh, if you have a caution, that's a big mess. That would be why. Never mind. Well, that kind of changes everything, doesn't it? Oh, that's Oberman in it too. That is, I think, the end of Oberman's season right there. Saw her on the banking stranded. And that just about changes everything as well. But on this note, we are at a mile-ish oval with an abrasive surface where tire strategy is king. Look who is in third right now, the number 65 of Latanya Gray, your winner at Aguas Calientes earlier this season. This is a driver and team combo that has proven that they can get it done in this exact situation, and I think that team is gonna be one to really look out for once we get to the end of the race. I think the 65 team of Latanya Gray is going to be in one of the best positions possible to win this race. I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Alright, with that, we'll hopefully get a replay of what happened there, as well as an update on the multiple problems that seemingly happened in the mid-race itself. As, we'll hand over things back to the booth here, where Echo and TPC will call the rest of the race, and, well, I feel like all sorts of drama just happened here. But I'm Rasha, and on behalf of Ellie, we'll be back at the end of the race here, and the post-race show back in the studio.
So it looks like what happens, the 31, 93 is trying to pit, and the 93 gets run into. The 25 can't get out of the way. The 14 of it, Katja Niedelstein, was involved as well in this, by the way.
Major playoff implications for the 93, who
is out of the race.
is gonna, out of the race and potentially out of playoff
30
contention as well.
second-
That was a big, big crash.
30 seconds is going to be her final finishing position, and that is probably going to knock Izzy Oberman out of the championship race for good.
And that's also bad for the 54 as well, who had that sudden engine failure during that section as well. We had to, like I said, there's major playoff implications, but I mentioned before, the entry to pit road was going to be treacherous for those cars who wanted to get in at the entry of turn 3. That's exactly what caused that recent crash, and hey, that's what those lap cars need to get back on the lead lap.
So several cars about to get back on the lead lap here. .45 of Liz Roberts is the leader.
So things have shaken out pretty well for the 45 here. One of the fastest cars on track, I believe. Also the 65 as well. 65 also all the way up to second. I believe they've benefited pretty well from these sets of green flag stops. Well, now no longer a green flag cycle, but now with this caution, allowing these drivers to coast a little bit during this yellow flag segment right here. I believe the last pit stop was going to be pretty close towards the end of this race. So some cars are going to try and stretch it towards the end here.
So as our playoff cars stand, it is Starchev is third. Let me see. It's Starchev in third. The 2 of Ramos is in 12th. Oswald is 13th. Oh, excuse me. Williams is in 5th. I forgot her. Jones is 17th. Schultz is 20th. Van Lundquist 22nd. Edelstein 23rd. Five cars right now scored on the lead lap.
Now with all these cars being back on the lead lap.
Well, actually, we didn't really get a lot of cars back on the lead lap. We just had a few cars as the 26 of Robin Morales is currently blowing up and coming down pit road.
Rather unfortunate, but now the battle for the lead is now going to be between these 4 cars, one of them being a playoff contender. So Starchev looking...
That's actually 2 cars that are... It's actually 2 playoff cars, because the 55 is in fact in this is on the lead lap of Deborah. Deborah Williams is on the lead lap. She just got the free pass to get a lap back.
Yeah, they got to hope for another yellow here that is not involving them to get back into the picture here.
Russia, you got anything?
Yep, talking to the Project Horizon Racing crew here. It appears both of their cars have just had their engines expire in the last 25 laps. We saw Rockwood's engine expire sometime during the mid-race report, and it looks like the 26 is going to have the same. Is going to have one of her engine go off as well. Big setback for that for both of those Project Horizon cars, who finally managed to get both cars into the race for first time in a while, I feel like.
Green flag is out. Roberts is the leader. Gray jumps to the outside, looks to try to take the lead away on the outside, but instead is going to be in the wall. And
way up the track.
Ani Starchev is going to take second. You got Isabella Smith maybe looking for third.
Oh, we got a car sideways off of 2.
It was the 04
of
Tremblay-Vaudreuil. No yellow, we stay green.
That is really surprising. Although with the car being slow, well, maybe not. The yellow's still going to be.
I think it was just
back.
one car. I think that's why they didn't call it. Well, after all that wild chaos, let's go through and let's talk about our FanDuel fan picks, because we needed to do that. We can't leave our sponsors hanging. So, TBC, you got a FanDuel fan pick?
I'm thinking that 66 car is going to get to victory lane today. They've been fast all day, have avoided the chaos. I think they can get up front and win this race, get themselves a berth in the playoffs today.
Starchev would move her way into the final round, regardless of anything else. Well, with that being said, I'm going to take the 15. Isabella Smith's looked very fast. She looked fast at the beginning runs. She's looked fast throughout all this pit cycle chaos, I think Isabella Smith is going to be the one who goes to victory lane in this one.
That's a pretty solid prediction. I think I can agree with that.
And shockingly, nobody's taking the 45, I don't think.
Well, has been fast all day, but I feel like that's going to run out towards the end of this race, especially with pit stops.
And it's Liz Roberts. This car has always kind of had been cursed whenever it runs well.
Yeah.
By the way, Deborah Williams, not looking too terrible in the 55. She is starting to make her way up through... Okay, I lied. She is not making her way up through anything right now. I think I just saw the time and thought, oh, it's better because it was 7 seconds, but it was 11 seconds under the caution. As LaTanya Gray really sits back. LaTanya Gray really kind of dropping back a lot. She's actually getting passed for the 3rd position by Ani Starchev. Starchev really got shuffled quite a bit. You got the top lap down car right now of the 95 right here in the 3rd in line. Right behind her is the 2nd car lap down, Takamoto Aya. And interestingly to note as well, I wanted to point this out, but after we had that pit cycle under the first run, there were a lot of cars that actually got their lap back through the pit cycle. And I believe we still do have another pit cycle to go, unless these cars really desperately want to go all the way to the end on this set of tires. I think they could do it. I don't think they will.
Now these cars are just trying to stand out once again, run it green to the rest of this pit cycle. Try and keep it clean. Yeah, because most of the incidents we've seen so far today have either been on the restarts, which has only happened once at the start of the race, and on pit cycles, which has only been 2 out of the 3 times we've seen so far today. So these cars have a really big 3-wide moment there on the backstretch.
That was Yoko alongside Lulu Kani and Faye Zanda. And none of those cars are on the same lap as each other, I feel inclined to point out. So they're just going 3 wide for love of the game there. You see that the 95 and the 11 both got around the 15 of Isabella Smith, and they may actually be trying to get around the 45 of Liz Roberts here fairly soon as well. These cars scored a lap down, but if they were able to get their lap back, that would put them in a pretty solid position.
Now it all comes down to how this 15, this 45 can battle each other towards the end of this race. The 66 now caught in that lap traffic, needs to navigate that as quickly as possible to get around these cars, get back up alongside the 15, and try and battle for the win here. But navigating this lap traffic is not going to be easy for this group right here.
Yeah, the 66 doesn't have too much traffic to get through, but still it's a decent bit. You got Cara Reynolds in that 95 car, right behind the 45 of Liz Roberts. Takamoto Aya sits behind them. Again, that's 6th and 7th, who are a lap down, trailing the leader, trying to get by to get back onto the lead lap. And there goes the 95 to do exactly that underneath the 45, and I imagine that she will be able to clear the 45 for this position. Same for the 11. And the 11 wasn't actually able to do it.
Yeah, now they're thinning out a little bit more, trying to stay in that lane. Wow, the 65 barely just caught the wall right there in the back, trying to hold on to that position.
I think she's fine.
Yeah, barely scraped into it, I should say.
Just gave it a little tap. Yeah, as it stands, it is Ramos in by 7 over Starchev on the final spot. Oswell, Van Lundquist, Jones, and Williams. If Starchev is able to take the lead, then the battle goes to being between the 96 and the 2, who right now are split by 5 points. So those two really need to get everything they can. In fact, Oswell has actually moved up 3 positions to 10th, and Ramos is still in 12th. So I believe the gap there is actually increased to to 8 points.
See, that playoff gap has been changing many times over the course of this race. A lot of things we didn't expect seeing, such as mechanical failures, big wrecks, playoff cars being involved in those big wrecks, and especially the pit road chaos that we've seen so far today. But all in all, the cars that survive are the ones that are thriving. The two especially, no longer hanging on to a top 10 spot, but doing a good job just like staying in position to potentially make their way into this final round.
Yeah, and Rachel Ramos has really been trying to get her way through. She's kind of had some really goofy things going on. I mean, this car has pretty much been very much a car that's made both rounds by pretty razor-thin margins, and it's very possible that Ramos may drive her way through to do just that a third time in these playoffs, as Takamoto Aya has also gotten past Liz Roberts to get her lap back, so the 11 now scored on the lead lap, and of course, if we get a caution, they would actually run right up to the tail end of the field. Isabella Smith tried to get to the outside of the 45, but got to the wall instead. Latanya Gray's moved up to third, taking that spot away from Starchev. Again, we are in that window of maybe coming down pit road for tires.
Absolutely, yeah. With these tires, but they can definitely make it to the end of another pit stop. It just depends on when they come in, and some cars are definitely going to try and stretch it towards the end to try and get as much time on these tires as possible. But I feel like the trend of having success in this race, especially for these pit cycles, is pitting early. Like the 55, actually I can no longer mention the 54, because 54 is now out of the race, but without that engine failure, they would have been doing really well with the pit strategy they were on, even with the tire going down. But these cars will have to try and pit early and try and figure out when the perfect time is to pit early so they can get back out there and not lose too much time and have the faster tires on the end of the pit cycle.
I mean, again, I think that perfect time to pit is going to be about 30 to go. You see the 15 really putting pressure on Liz Roberts right now. Isabella Smith wants this lead, and she wants to take it right now. She's going to get to the inside of Roberts coming out of turn number 4. And the 15 is going to try to get the lead. We'll see if Roberts has enough of a pull on the outside to stay ahead, but I don't think she does. Smith continuing to try to get it away from Liz Roberts, and she will do it. 15 car out front now.
And this is exactly what both the 65 and the 66 behind them need, is for these two to start racing each other. But that was a pretty clean pass by the 15 there to take the lead away. And now all they need to do is get a gap, but that 45 could just come back there to take up the lead just about as quickly as it was taken away from them right there.
45 is still right there. And again, the 45 has a teammate right there behind, although now there's the lap cars that are trying to get past the 45. You see the 8 there of Kate Summers trying to make a move past Liz Roberts. And then you have the 46 of Bridget Brousseau, who's actually now currently the first car lap down, as Roberts is in the wall.
Both now trying to run the outside lane, the 45 unwillingly. Both go up the track.
3 wide.
3 wide out of 4.
That's another
Very
aggressive
close.
move by Bridget Brousseau, trying to take it 3 wide, and they will both get past the 45. Roberts backs out of it, thinks better of going 3 wide with 2 lap cars. Now he might have a fight for second as Latanya Gray is trying to take this away. And Isabella Smith is running away.
Way out the bottom, exactly what that 65 needed to get past the 45 here. Now stuck on the top lane again. Here comes the 66 on the bottom trying to get a position once again.
And the 66, Ani Starchev, who is just trying to do everything she can to get to the front to win this race, because that's what it absolutely has to do. Russia, do you have a report on Lulu Kani in the 44 car?
Yeah, we've mentioned a few cars here nursing some form of mechanical issue here and there. The 44 is one of them. They had a fuel system leak, I think, on the 44 sometime during the mid-race break. Oh yes, it was during the mid-race break. We saw that 44 hop in kind of early to the to take service. Spent a bit of extra time there. I'm not sure where she's running, but definitely a few laps down. 26th place, multiple laps down, 5 to be exact. But that's kind of added to the kind of rough day that the 44 has had today after getting involved, of course, in that incident on lap 1 as well.
Lots of things going on back around here. There's Latanya Gray, who's got pretty well clear for second. Liz Roberts trying to maneuver around Sandy Martel. Again, that 51, a lapper. You see Ani Starchev trying to move through as well.
And now 51 gets forced up to the outside lane, way up the track, now getting passed by other cars within that area right there. But the 66 really needs to lock in on drafting this 45 here, try and get back up there. The battle for the lead has grown in the gap a little bit since that last lap, but it is still within 2.5 seconds.
Ooh, Starchev got the wall a bit.
That's not good.
66 just kind of smacked the fence a bit. You got Hiedi Yoko there in the 0 car. Now, the 0 car is off the lead lap. She actually got lapped through that pit cycle. Pitted early, and then the caution came out. Vinny Schultz is on pit road in the 62, and I think that's the signal that we're going to start seeing pit cycle here, because the 62, you know, one of those lappers who just needs to make something happen. Schultz really needs to do something, and I think the 14 is coming down pit road. Yes, she is. Edelstein is coming down pit road. Again, 2 cars have to make something happen to try to get to the front, because otherwise they're just they're screwed. They can't make it to the final round by just doing what they're doing right now. Freya von Lundquist is in as well.
And now that pit cycle begins. It all just depends on who's coming in first. All of our playoff contenders and our lead lappers, especially, to try and wait for either a yellow to get some of these cars back on the lead lap, try and cut some other cars that are not a lead lap, a lap down. It's all a matter of circumstance here.
If I'm Starchev, I think I want to come in as early as I feasibly can here, because that's what got her out front early. Well, Tanya Gray's trimmed the gap down to under a second from her to Isabella Smith at the moment. Got more cars on pit road. Cassidy Jones is in. I see, yep, Rachel Ramos has come down pit road. So has Jennifer Wilson. We are starting to see this is going to be that final pit cycle. Some things are going to have to be made happen. That sentence makes absolutely no sense. Some things are going to have to be made to happen here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the longest pit cycle of the whole race, because cars are going to be trying to stretch it as much as they can to try and at least get some strategy out. Let's see who will try and stretch it the longest out of this pack right here.
I could very well see maybe some cars might try and try to not pit at all, because you can do this without pitting. And I would not be terribly surprised if we saw some cars attempt that, but I'm not sure that that's the particularly right thing to do. Starchev is coming in. 66 is in. She's the earliest of the top 4 to pit. And again, I think this is the exact thing that Starchev needs to do here.
Yeah, but ideal for that 66, especially after hitting the wall. They need to get that track momentum back, have those fresh tires, and with a little 33 laps to go left in this race, they can absolutely use those tires to their advantage here after this pit cycle, as we got a little bit of a wad right here. 65 at the front of the
65 is kind of holding up those cars that had fresh tires. See the 46 kind of in the same position here. 46, although the 46 is still on old tires. Now, how long is Starchev going to spend on pit road? Because I know she's going to take 4 tires, but they got to get her out as quickly as they can. There's Rachel Ramos. 14th spot right now. as the 66 spent a very long time at pit road. She actually spent about 23 seconds on her stop, so not an ideal stop for Ani Starchev. Deborah Williams, 6th place. Car on the lead lap comes in. If we're seeing, do we have any more cars on the lead lap that are in? I don't think we do. There's Ramos and Jones going around the leader. Smith. We're going to come to 30 laps to go this time. And I don't think... I mean, you could do it on fuel. From the last stop we did, you could do it on fuel. I don't think you want to.
On tires.
I don't think you want to on tires.
No, absolutely not.
Excuse me, what was it? It was about lap 170. Yeah, that's about 75 laps, so you could definitely do that. But the problem is, I don't really think you want to do... I don't think you want to do that at all. I mean, there's Starchev. She's 2 laps down at the moment, but she will definitely get her lap back as we have a crash, and that's the leader!
Oh, no. Oh, big hit.
Isabella Smith and Bridget Brosseau clearly made contact.
Oh,
but Lundqvist comes in.
Oh, watch out. Oh, man. That is super unfortunate for that 15 car. How far were they above the cut line before that accident happened?
Well, 15 wasn't in the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter for them.
Oh. Well, that changes everything. With that pit cycle not even done, I don't think.
No, it was not.
Cars. So who's going to benefit and who's going to suffer? The car that's definitely going to suffer the most will be the 15 car for sure.
I'm not 100% on who the leader is. 65 comes down pit road. I believe the 11 is going to be the free pass car. I think. I can't even find the 11. Where is the 11? Oh, the 11 was on pit road.
Strange.
So yes, the 11, I believe, is the free pass car here. So Latanya Gray comes down. Aya will be the free pass car on the 11 car, and a lot of these cars are going to be moved. They're gonna gain some spots here. 95, 45, and 65 all were the lead lap cars. .42 of Von Lundqvist is still at least in the running. Edelstein is done in the 14. 24, she's going to end up finishing 27th, so the 14 is for sure done.
One car that survived this whole race despite being involved in 3 crashes is that 41 car who's still looking to try and get a playoff spot today. Although they're multiple laps down, I think they'll be difficult.
The 42 of Von Lundqvist should still be fine. Okay, so I believe the 65 is in fact the race. Yes, the 65 is the race leader. So we're gonna do our wave arounds here.
Have we seen the replay after this recent crash?
Let me do that as soon as I get this done.
Now all these cars coming, excuse me, coming back around. Yeah, without the 66, I feel like this will not be much of a playoffs battle anymore. There's only really so much you can do with the rest of this field that's still in contention. Because really the 42 may have a locked spot for the playoffs at this rate. For now, I should say.
We're going to give them an extra lap of yellow. So let's see if I can figure out what on earth went on there. The 15 had some kind of problem. The 65 actually ran into the 15. So the 15 had a mechanical problem of some sort, and the 14 just piles in.
Very unfortunate.
15 really just slowed up pretty much right away there. So we believe it actually may end up turning out that some of the lap down cars may be waved around here because of the pit cycle shenanigans. We're gonna give them another lap of yellow, but it sounds like because there's only 5 cars in the lead lap, we're gonna wave more around.
So without the threat of a green flag pit stop happening anymore in this race, I think really the only yellows that we could see for the rest of this race could either be from the restart or from mechanical failures like we saw with that 15. So we just need to hopefully avoid any more of those as we get these last few remaining wave rounds done here to get some more cars back on the lead lap.
Okay, 4 car is 18th. So let me see. I believe we're gonna have 10. I believe we have. How many cars do we have on the lead lap? We have 11 on the lead lap now.
So could see a bit if we get another quick yellow that could put those cars right back at the front.
Yeah.
That could make the finish very interesting.
So a bit of a long yellow here. Green flag. LaTanya Gray, the leader. The 15 is the reason for the waiver rounds. The 15 technically was considered a lead lap car because she was the leader when bringing out the caution. Here comes Liz Roberts to the inside on LaTanya Gray with 19 laps to go. Or excuse me, with 21 laps to go. Roberts trying to take the lead away. Reynolds is challenging in the 95.
Big push from the 95 here, try and get up front. That 95 has been down a lap the entire race. Now back on the lead lap, looking for the lead out of turn number 4, trying to get back on the bumper of the 45 here.
Yeah, and the 95 actually unlapped herself during that last run. She's gotten back to the, not only back to the lead lap, but trying to battle for the front.
The 11 back up here too, now in the top 5. 66 now in 8th, trying to get some spots back up.
96 of Oswell is up to 6th place right now.
Very solid run for that 96 going on too.
Takamoto Aya running in 5th, trying to take the spot away from Smith in 4th.
I'm surprised that 15 is not only still in the race, but also still on the lead lap.
She actually managed to hold. She actually managed to hold on to the lead lap based on just where the yellow came out. So
all she's got to do now is hold on to at least a top 15 position here, which is going to be pretty likely.
Well, there's only 11 cars on the lead lap, so probably will end up top 11 position.
definitely gonna make things harder for the cars trying to get around her here, but won't be too much of a problem. But now up front, still pretty close. The gap is closing between the 45 and the 95 for the lead, but now evenly spaced between our top 4, I'd say.
Here comes Starchev looking underneath Yoko.
Yep, here's for that.
Trying to take the 7th spot away. Not able to do it quite yet. I think she might try it again here down the front straightaway. It's the 04 and the 10. Those cars are kind of in the way. There's Freya van Lundqvist running 22nd at the moment, but I mean, she's still running, and that's pretty much all she needs to do.
Absolutely.
To be fair, I don't think Freya needs to do very much at all. I think she's pretty much in mostly regardless of anything right now. As the 0 of Yoko got on the wall, that lets Starchev get by. Starchev has a lot to do, though, to get to the front. These top 4 have gotten away. Roberts, Reynolds, Gray, Aya. Smith back to 5th. You got Oswell right here in 6th. Starchev in 7th.
Looks like that 15's found some pace, trying to get past the lap car. That's the 10. The 96, though, still closing up, but now closing up to another lap car of the 04. But they are definitely not falling back as far as I thought they would. It looks like they found some decent pace now compared to recently.
And, I mean, with Lynn Oswell, it would take a lot to knock her right now, but Ani Starchev basically has to just... She has to get to the front now. The 66, I don't think there's any other way. I think we see our top 5 right now basically locked of Williams, Jones, Oswald, Van Lundqvist, and Ramos. And unless some kind of mechanical issue occurs on one of those 5 playoff cars right now, I don't see that changing. We're at our Windows 11 to go. Liz Roberts is out front in the 45 car. We've got Kara Reynolds in 2nd, Takamoto Aya in 3rd, Latanya Gray in 4th. Got to go back to Isabella Smith in 5th, Lynn Oswell 6th. It's Ani Starchev 7th, Hieta Yoko in 8th, Lori Ramirez 9th, and Deborah Williams back in 10th. Rachel Ramos in 11th, the last car on the lead lap. It is a all-out fight right now to try to get to be that car to get into the final round to the championship 5
The final
at Homestead.
The final coffin.
Yes, as the great Marty Reed said.
Here comes the 11 now in 3rd place, trying to make her way up the field, get behind the 95. Don't think. Well, they actually look pretty fast right now coming out of turn 4. Let's see if they can make a run on the 95 here for a second.
3 cars within a second of the lead. Roberts has it right now, but they are starting to close further back of the 45 right now. The 95's closing up. The 11 is closing up, but they've only got 7 laps to close up before they have to get by. And Roberts kind of just trying to run her line. 5 or 6 laps to go as it stands.
Trying to get that draft, trying to find the right time to pass this 45 car for the lead, but just can't get there. That 45 is doing a really, really good job at defending this lead. Just has to stay ahead for as long as possible here.
I think we may be seeing from Roberts a little bit of that arrow blocking again, like we saw earlier in the race. This is about the perfect time in the race to be able to try something like that.
Indeed.
They catch this lap car. The 51 checked him up pretty badly there. That's going to let Reynolds close a fair bit here. Can Carl Reynolds do something with that, though? They're all neck and neck, 1, 2, 3 right now. Does Reynolds have a run?
Really close.
Not
right
quite
here on the
yet.
back bump of the 45. They're
3
all
to
together
go.
right now within a second.
3 to go. Reynolds looks to the inside. Tries to move the 45 up the track a little bit on the bumper.
Oh, wow. Almost a slide job right there. Here comes that 11 waiting in the wings for something to happen between these two. Is there any lap traffic in front that could hinder these leaps?
Don't believe so. I think the last one was that 51.
They got clean air right in front of them. 2 to go here.
Oh, Reynolds didn't have a very good corner there.
No, not at all.
95 really slipped a lot. Roberts is going to have another lap to hold on here.
They're really good out of turn 4, but that seems to be their best corner. And it looks like that gap is going to remain the same going on to the white flag.
White flag. Gap actually increased. Here comes Reynolds trying to make something happen one last time, but Liz Roberts, who's been snake bitten all year when it comes to the end of the race, is she finally going to have her luck turn around? It looks like she will. Liz Roberts will win at Rockingham. Reynolds second, Aya will be third, Gray fourth, Smith fifth, and the first playoff car, Lynn Oswell in sixth, Ani Starchev in seventh. And with how the finishing positions will look, it looks like it's going to end up being the 55, the 4, the 96, the 42, and the 2 in the final round.
Insane. What a crazy race. No more anvils.
No more anvils for Liz Roberts as she takes the win here at Rockingham. Something that they have been waiting for a while to try to get that win for that 45 car. It took a long time, but she finally broke through. 4 poles this season. That 45 has been great at qualifying, but just has not been able to finish it out until now. And on to you. What did you think of that race, and what do you think we're gonna expect to see next week at Homestead for the championship finale?
Well, I think we saw everything pretty much textbook for a Rockingham race. We saw action out of turn number 4. We saw troubles getting to pit road. We saw trouble with cars during the green flag pit stops. We saw trouble out of turn number 2. Like, we saw cars getting loose out of the corner. We saw cars having trouble with tire wear. Cars losing tires throughout the race. It was just everything you could probably get in a Rockingham race. And that's exactly what these playoff drivers that made it to the next round needed. The ones that survived were the ones that made it through to the end, like the 2, the 42, who made it through 3 different wrecks and still made it into the playoffs with a pretty decent gap. So these 5 cars will be coming to Homestead next week for what I assume will be another barn burner like we had here tonight at Rockingham.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to take you down to our post-race show for not only they'll not only have the analysis on our final 5, but they'll also have the analysis on how this race went and what they think we can expect next week too. All right, Rashi and Ellie, you two take it away down there as we'll see what we can expect from Homestead.
Yeah, and an absolute belter of our last run there. Came down to a straight fight between the 45, 95, and 11, and finally, after the whole season of being snake bitten, the 45 of Liz Roberts brings it home for the 45 team's first win of the season, and I believe that would be the second win as well. Third win, I should say. Third win, I believe, for Ponos Racing this season. It's been a great year for Ponos Racing. They've run well quite a few times now, but just haven't really quite had the luck to consistently contend. But both of their cars definitely quick on the days, quick on their day, I should say, and very close finish there. Latanya Gray and Isabella Smith, the two Dark Horse JSM cars running out the top 5, and Lynn Oswald, actually, those three finished together. Starchef 7th, Yoko 8th, Lori Ramirez 10th, Lori Ramirez 9th, good run for her coming back from injury, of course. Deborah Williams rounding out the top 10, and Rachel Ramos will finish in 11th place. 11th place, last on the lead lap, which we believe will be enough to get to that, for her to lock the last spot in the playoffs. By our calculations, it will be Williams, Jones, Oswald, Von Lundquist, and Ramos. Your final 5 heading to fight for the championship at Homestead. Definitely lots to talk about, especially kind of in that mid race where we thought Annie Starchiev had the pace to perhaps win and kind of secure her spot via a win, but the way the race kind of panned out at the end was not to her favor. Ended up a few laps down, of course, because of that late caution. But lots of still very valiant effort, I think, from the 66 of Starchiev. Almost very much almost ran it back as they did in Michigan, where they won out of the gate in that 60-16. What do you think of the race here, Ellie? Lots of things to analyze, I feel like.
Yeah, I thought that was great classic racing, and I really thought the 66 had a good chance at pulling off something there. But regardless, I think that team shouldn't feel too disappointed. She still tried her best, and she did pretty good. She, kind of came back from a iffy position after that cycle, and she ended up placing 7th. It's not a horrible position. You're not in the final 5, but you placed good. And that final 5, that's an interesting final 5 for sure. That is going to make a really interesting Homestead race.
Yeah, it's going to be an insane fight. We'll see. I feel like we'll talk about, of course, all of these teams, all of these drivers when we get to Homestead. But there's simply so much to talk about, I feel like, with this final 5. Obviously, Rachel Ramos' story this season has kind of been through the playoffs, at the very least, has kind of been the defining story, I think, of the playoffs. She managed to. I feel like she's managed to kind of squeeze her way through on that last spot. Basically every time, we'll see. She was definitely the last one in here. I think she might have been the last one into the first round as well. But with that, so much, I think, can be said about those 5, and also for the rest, for everyone else that were in the playoffs this year as well. We'll have to see what happened in the. Sorry, we'll just have to see what happens in Homestead, because I think any of those five drivers can very well be. I think that would be a very worthy champion. I think once we get we get to the end here, and this looking at a slight note as well to the standings in the owners' points, that this performance by the 55, I think will. If not, it won't outright secure them the owner's title, but it'll put them in a position where as long as nothing goes catastrophically wrong for the 55 team, they will be the owner's champion here. So they're fine. So 55 are looking to get both championships here at the end of this race. And with the reseeded points, here, let's see. Reseeded points outside the top 5. Jackie Kennedy, who has spent the entire playoffs kind of right on the outside of the points, only 7 points ahead of the now eliminated Izzy Oberman. Now you can see the cars that were eliminated in this round in particular, very high up in points. Izzy Oberman 7th, Schultz 8th, Davenport 10th, Edelstein 12th, and the 66 Starchiev is 44th after running, but only a partial schedule, to be fair. So she's kind of there with the drivers that only ran about half the season basically. But yeah, with that, just 5 drivers left here, all of whom coincidentally have 1 win this season.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. I mean, all of these drivers only have 1 win. A lot of them, minus Deborah Williams, were kind of looked at as sort of underdogs. Actually, I should.
No, I wouldn't say. I was gonna say. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't say.
I think let's say Williams and Von Lundquist were kind of the favorite. Favored. Cassidy Jones to an extent as well. Oswald and Ramos maybe not so much.
Oswald and Ramos were obvious, like underdogs. Cassidy Jones was kind of locked in.
Though I will say Oswald did really well in the playoffs with her third top 10 now. That's actually half of her top 10s in the entire season came in the last 4 races. Which is, if that's not stepping it up when it matters, I feel like then I don't know if anything else can be that.
Yeah, that definitely is stepping up when it matters. That's locking in when it counts. And
yeah.
I definitely don't want to write off any of the other drivers who were in the top 10 and who were in the other playoffs as well. They have done really good. And I think also Jackie Kennedy as well. Like, she did great outside of the bubble, because she fell out.
Mm-hmm.
And she still raced really well. Even though, she was out, it didn't really matter anymore. And she still raced really well.
Yeah, and that car is 5th in owners' points, which kind of shows you how well that car as a whole has been running all season. With only 2 other drivers that have run the full season ahead of her, that being the 42 and 55. Of course, the 6 splitting between Tristina and Luxakuma, the 10 splitting between Charlie McCarran and Eliza Evergreen as well. So yeah, that's the kind of quality we've seen out of the 12. Unfortunately, the playoff format was, if the playoff format did anyone no favors, it was certainly to the 12 team of Jackie Kennedy. But she has kept herself up and ran an excellent campaign in the playoffs despite that. But what do you expect at Homestead here? Homestead is kind of one of those intermediate tracks where I feel like just anything is possible. I feel like at Homestead, it's such a different different kind of speedway compared to the other speedways we do have. Of course, we do have a few pill-shaped speedways because we do have Oregon. We did have Oregon in the playoffs. That is kind of the closest comparison we have. But I believe Homestead has a different banking profile. And I believe it also has progressive banking. I think it has progressive banking, which kind of makes it more multi-groove as compared to the more singular groove. A single groove Oregon, so it's a similar kind of track, but it's going to be different ways to kind of exploit the track surface there to get fast laps. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think that's gonna make it a very fun and interesting and competitive race. I mean, there's gonna be so many lines you can run. It's multi-groove. That's gonna be a very competitive race. I think. Obviously, there's going to be some drivers who are going to be, on their A game, and Ramos and Oswald are going to have to watch out for them. I mean, I think Deborah Williams and Von Lundquist for sure are going to be trying their best, and I think it's going to be a very hard-fought battle and hard-fought win, whoever wins it, because I think any of them could do it. I don't think one of them is more favored. I just think, obviously there's going to be drivers who are going to be at their best, and that's going to be hard, no matter how much you locked in. And so I just think it's going to be a very competitive race, and it's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, and as a note, the only one of the drivers here in the final 5 that have won at a traditional speedway in AWSCO, at the very least, is the 55 of Deborah Williams, who won the Charlotte race earlier this season. Everyone else here in this series specifically has won on a different type of track. But Lundquist and Oswald won on super speedways, while Ramos and Cassidy Jones won on shorter tracks. Ramos won at Phoenix, and Cassidy Jones, of course, won in Surrey. So that's kind of, in terms of wins in this series, Williams is the only one with a win in the at a speedway, and also has the most top 10s with 12 of all the drivers that are still in the running for the championship. And on the owner's title front, the 55 is leading by 39 points, which effectively means the 55 has the owner's titles as long as they don't finish last in the 6, doesn't max out their points, basically. Which Shastina, of course, has run well, has shown the capacity to run well, so that's not exactly out of the question yet, but barring a complete overhaul in that race, the 55 is in position to win the owner's title there, and of course have a shot at winning the driver's title with Deborah Williams as well. And any other notes you want to talk about, Ellie, before we hand things over, perhaps back to Echo to close out the broadcast?
I think that covered about like all of my everything I had to say about that race. It was really great. I liked that race a lot.
Yeah, no, that was certainly a bit of a wild race, I think, but there was so much to talk about on that strategy front, and the way it panned out, I think, was definitely interesting with that last run at the end. And with that, I think that'll be everything from us today here at the FanDuel Fan Studio. I've been Rasha. We'll see you tomorrow as well for the Windows Cup Series race in Rockingham here tomorrow. That will be a 400-mile race, the Subway 400. So 400 more miles of racing from the Rockingham Speedway here in North Carolina. And with that, where we'll actually decide the final 5 for the Cup Series. And with that, we'll send you back to Echo now, who will close out the broadcast for us here today.
And what a race it was today from Rockingham. 246 laps of pure madness. And tomorrow, we've got the Cup Series to do 393 more, 400 miles to settle their championship race. Who runs for the title in that one? And then next week, it's Homestead Miami Speedway. For all the marbles, it's the championship race at Homestead next week. On behalf of TBC, Rasha and Ellie, I'm Echo. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I will see you all in the next one.